So Kathy Hochul tried to go to the fallen officer's wake and was kicked out. We have numerous stories talking about how she was heckled and asked to leave because people are quite upset with what's going on in New York City. More women are coming forward saying they're getting punched in the face. And now you actually have some celebrities saying they've too been punched in the face. And I stand by my position. You reap what you sow, and elections have consequences. Maybe they will change their voting patterns. I don't think they will, so I'm not going to give anyone any sympathy for the way they choose to live. You vote for it, you get it. I'm happy for you. What else I had to complain about? So we got those stories, and then we have Lizzo retiring a day after going to this big fundraiser where Joe Biden's bragging. You know, I just feel like lining up with Democrats is a surefire way to cause damage to your career because nobody likes Joe Biden. Well, Lizzo says that she's tired of all the backlash and the negative feedback and being made fun of for being fat. So she's retiring. But I wonder what this has to do with being at this fundraiser, because I have to imagine by appearing there, Lizzo probably got a massive wave of comments from people who are angry that she did. Some simply attacking her because she did, and some directly criticizing her saying, hey, why did you do this? What I mean is there's probably a lot of people who just started commenting you're fat and you're gross and things like that because she had done something to anger them politically. Hey, man, you want to get into the political fray? You reap what you sow. So we'll get into those stories. And admittedly, wow, what a slow news week. Outside of that major boat disaster, which was huge news, not a whole lot been going on, everyone. I think it's, it's Easter. Everybody's kind of checked out. Everyone's planning for the weekend, and it's Good Friday. So, it is what it is. Head over to castbrew.com, buy coffee. Our coffee is very good. Everyone loves Appalachian Nights so much. We sell out insanely quickly. And now our distributor is just on like cycling. We just told them just order whenever you want, make it when you want it and build it because people keep buying it. But I do recommend Rise with Roberto Jr., which is, of course, my second favorite and used to be the lead seller until people discovered the amazing robust dark roast of Appalachian Nights. And of course, the Re-Rise with Roberto Jr. is our gag from Halloween. And that's a limited run. So once that's gone, it's gone. I think there's a couple thousand left anyway. And Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice Experience is nearing the end of its run as well. So pick those up. They will be gone soon. And head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support our work directly. This show is made possible thanks in part to viewers like you. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over. What did I just say that? Click join us, become a member. Join our Discord is what I wanted to say. Join the Discord server as a member, and we don't have a members-only show coming up tonight, but as a member of the Discord, you can hang out with like-minded individuals, and we want to build that networking in that community. Joining us tonight to talk about this and whatever else is Blaire White.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be back again.
Blaire, who are you?
YouTuber, social media influencer, I guess. Hate that term, but it fits. And I think this is probably my close to 10th time on the show. I feel like I've been here so many times.
Yeah, probably.
At least 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, and then I realized when we were looking at the calendar that Michael is on Monday. I think that's the first, right? Yeah. And I was like, that's like the stupidest. We should have had you guys back to back. You could have hung out.
Yeah.
Or had you on at the same time. But yeah, Michael Mouse will be here on Monday. That'll be fun. We got Phil hanging out.
Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Levante. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Looking forward to being
Good
back.
to see you
Let's
back.
do this rock and roll. Let's talk about Kathy Hochul. I'm super excited. I'm being sarcastic, too, by the way, but...
Come on. I don't know. It's going to be fun.
Everybody's got to do something with their life.
Do a little Duncan.
Of course, Serge is over here pressing buttons.
Yeah, I'm hanging out. Pleasure to have you, Blaire. Let's get into it.
And real quick, I have some good news. We went out to the small little pond we have in the front of our house, and I noticed that there were a bunch of weird black threads, and I didn't think much of it. And then Allison and I realized they were toad eggs. Yeah, they're it's a jelly tube full of little black dots, and there's probably going to be 800 baby toads in a week or two. So it's going to get nuts.
Oh,
That's
I love
exciting.
them.
And they're going to be screaming. They go, that you just all night you hear rah, 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 rah. All right, let's talk about the news. We got this from Gazette.com. Kathy Hochul kicked out of NYPD officer's wake. Wow. Hochul was not a welcome sight at the wake of fallen officer Jonathan Diller. Hochul reportedly left Friday's reception within 10 minutes after she was greeted by a shout of "Get her out of here!" Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's rough.
As she walked back to her car, Hochul was confronted by a man who sources said was speaking to her while gesturing with emotion. Videos of the exchange was shared to social media. In a statement to the Washington Examiner, spokesperson for the governor's office would not confirm or deny the claim that Hochul was asked to leave. Governor Hochul attended the wake today to mourn the loss of Officer Diller. Offer her condolences and hear from his family and loved ones who are dealing with unimaginable grief. Diller, 31, was shot and killed Monday while performing a traffic stop on an illegally parked car. The suspected shooter, Guy Rivera, 34, had been arrested 21 times before the incident, is now facing murder charges. And my understanding is there was no reason for it. The guy was just walking up to the car and they just shot him through the window. Ugh. So I don't understand, and someone's going to have to give me you're going to have to explain this one to me, how Joe Biden raises as much money as he does when everyone hates the guy. I have talked to people who said, I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Who are you voting for this time? Trump.
Yeah.
Young people, old people. Now, I've certainly met, don't get me wrong, Trump derangement syndrome people. We've told those stories. But how is it that I go to D.C.? D.C. is 92% Democrat, and I'm talking to regular people, and they're just like, I'm not voting for that guy. Who's giving him money?
It's got to be corporations, is my guess.
Corporations can't just give money like that. Joe Biden, his campaign has received millions of dollars. A quote-unquote corporation can have like an officer donate a max of a couple $1,000s. That's it.
I think the people that are most likely to support Biden are me and Ian were talking about this just a moment ago before we started. The people that are most likely to support Biden are the people with money and that don't want things to change, right? If they're making if you're making like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, maybe $1 million a year, you're making enough money where you can throw a lot of money at political. You have a lot of disposable income, right? You're not conspicuously rich, but you're definitely rich, right? And you're going to go to work every day, but you don't want anything to change because you're going to be set for life in 10 years, right? Everything will be fine. You'll have a boatload of money. You don't have to worry about anything. Your kids will be set. And the last thing they want is for things to change. So they just want the status quo. And I think those people are thinking that are the same people that think Donald Trump messed things up. It was a certain way before Trump. Trump came along and messed everything up, and they wanted to go back to the way before Donald Trump. They were hoping that Joe Biden was going to be the way, go back to the way things were. And I think that they're really mad that it's not working, but I still think that they're of the mindset that I'm just going to keep throwing money at essentially the Obama team, because most people know that Joe Biden's entire administration is just the same people that were working there when Barack Obama was the president. So I think it's just people that throw money at people that have disposable income and throw as much as they can at those candidates.
Just like the reason why I brought that up is because Kathy Hochul shows up to an officer's wake and they scream at her to get out. Like, Democrat policy is leading to such devastation. You've got women getting punched in the face, officers being killed. Who's supporting this? I mean, Anna Kasparian snapped off on Young Turks about in New York. They refused to hold people found with corpses and blood in their drains. Well, and the cops are like, we can't hold them.
Crime is one of the things right now that's turning a lot of people around for sure. And it feels like on the ground level, like you said, it's the least radioactive time for Trump in the sense of like, you can the temperature is just a little different right now as opposed to while he's president leading up and even before now, where you can kind of openly talk about supporting Trump and get a minimal amount of backlash. So it's interesting. It's the first time that I really feel like he could actually win this year, for sure.
I mean, his polling is, there was no polling like this in the last cycle. In 2020, Biden was ahead the whole time.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, the polls are wrong. They were wrong with Hillary. They're wrong with Biden. And Biden ends up winning. And then, now, we'll see what happens this year.
I mean, this is just a year of awakening, I feel like, in general. Like, people are waking up to the reality of a lot of institutions, the Diddy stuff, the Nickelodeon stuff. That's different than Trump, but people are kind of seeing through the veil of how stuff really works right now. I think there's just more information available to people than ever.
Do you see that? Yeah. There's a meme where it's Kesha waking up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy.
What did she mean by that?
Yeah, what did she mean? And then there's that.
Explain.
Then Muppet looking like left and right, like.
Yeah, do explain, Kesha.
Thing about people waking up, this is the time of like the awakening. We're basically in the week. But when you wake up, the first thing you see, that's up to the people in the media. Like, we're like, oh, wait, now you're awake? Look, now you're woke. Now you're awake? Look, now you're enlightened. So like, how are they waking up? What is the first thing they're going to believe in this new rebirth that they're experiencing?
Well, that's the thing. Woke and red pill mean the same thing. It's just different
belief structures.
Woke is a false reality built on postmodernist lies, and red pilled is you're actually seeing through the BS and breaking the fractured narrative of the corporate press and the establishment.
And when you ask people that claim to be woke, a lot of times they'll say that the red pill people are delusioned and that the woke people have it right. It's the idea that one side has a picture perfect view of reality and the other side is deluded. But in reality, we're probably all a little deluded and hopefully have some value to bring to the table.
I actually think it's a fair assessment that I would say in the quote unquote red pill, which I wouldn't actually want to use the red pill, but I would say, because we don't really use those terms anymore.
It's different now,
In
too.
in the anti-establishment faction, it's 80% factual, and then in the woke side, it's 80% delusion.
Like
I'd
based
agree
on
with
your
that, yeah.
emotions.
And I feel like also wokeness, though, has dominated culture for so long now. Like even during the entire Trump presidency, it's like that was still the dominant sort of ideology going on in the media, social media, etc. And now I feel like it's been long enough, people can kind of see for themselves, like, it's actually not working. All these ideas we had about race and gender and how the world really works and if Trump was really Hitler or not, it's like they can kind of see that it's not the case, and people are seeing also a lot of really crazy stuff happening under Biden. There's really no excuse anymore to blame it on Trump. So.
These people thought voting for Joe Biden would bring them back to 2010 or something.
And it didn't.
It just made everything worse.
No, they thought that Donald Trump, you're right, they did think that it was going to bring him back before Donald Trump, but they thought that Donald Trump was the cause. And for the past almost decade, I've been saying Donald Trump is a symptom of what is going on in society. Donald Trump has caused nothing. Donald Trump is the cause of absolutely zero of our problems. He is a result and a symptom. And as long as people don't understand that, they're going to keep behaving as if Donald Trump is the problem and keep voting for the things that they were voting for before Donald Trump, which are the exact same things that gave us Donald Trump.
I think that's
I agree.
quite astute. And I think also Biden's not the cause of the problems and he's not the savior. Trump's not like this progress into the, I don't know what you call it, the devolvement of the United States government into this global corporatization where they're just siphoning off our wealth. That wasn't a Donald Trump. That was going to happen. This plan's been going on since the 1990s at least, when George Bush Sr. brought up the New World Order for one of the first times on TV. They've been planning this for quite a long time.
You understand, Joe Biden was a part of the uniparty establishment machine for 50 years during that time period. He was actively involved in it.
Yeah, he
So
was.
I think it's fair to say, as an individual, Biden isn't the cause of what's going on right now. As a component of the machine, he is.
Yeah, he's a big
I agree with
political
that.
figurehead making a lot of money off of it.
And we kind of all see a little bit of this on a much smaller scale. Obviously, all of us sitting here are some level of public figure. And when you're a public figure that to a large extent, you kind of just mirror back whatever people want to see in you. So I agree with what Phil was saying. Trump was really just a symptom. It was unveiling everything that was kind of sick and wrong with the culture and how the country was being ran, not necessarily him doing a bunch of stuff. Because you can also see how he didn't have all that much power during 2020.
The people.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, I do think it's true for the most part that public figures reflect back what people want to see in them. But do you mean by that, like, no matter what you do, people will choose like how they think of you? Is that what you mean?
To an extent, yeah. And they can make you out to be whatever they
Right.
want you to be,
Like
and
they'll highlight only certain things from Trump. Like, here's the Trump timeline. They select
bloodbath.
They select these pieces, put them together, and say, look how bad Trump is.
Yeah, and it works less and less now. Like the bloodbath thing recently was a really good example.
It's a great
I didn't
point.
see many people genuinely falling for it. And anyone I did see falling for it, their comment section was lit up with people of all over the political spectrum saying, actually, that's ridiculous to paint
Yep.
it that way. And so that's a good sign because you think back to before, every person believed that he made fun of the mentally handicapped reporter. Every person believed he said all these things about, Latinos and black people that just were either not true or taken out of context. It's not as easy to do anymore.
We got a super chat. Mad Max said Trump is not a symptom of the problem. He's the response to the problem. I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
For a long time, I said he was a symptom of it. I think response to it is a better way to frame it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm comfortable with that framing as well. Essentially, like, look, the people on the left and your average Democrat need to understand that MAGA people are the Tea Party, right? Like the Tea Party came in response to what essentially was, the overreach, what they felt was the overreach of the federal government, and a response to the bailouts of the banks. Right. So there was the left response, which was Occupy Wall Street and stuff. And that got eaten up by the whole intersectional stuff. And you had the Tea Party, which was the response to like the bailouts in response to the ACA. And they essentially were like, these are the things that we want. And these are the things we're upset about. And all they got from the Democrats was, oh, they're the racists. They're clinging to their guns and their God and blah, blah, blah. And all of the negative stereotypes. And so they were like, well, we wanted Mitt Romney, who was literally the most Boy Scout you can get, right? As milquetoast as you could possibly come up with. They still called him a Nazi. They still said he was a rapist. They still said he was all these terrible things. And then they're like, well, then Donald Trump shows up. And Donald Trump's just like a endless line of middle fingers. And they're like, that's my guy. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So the idea that Donald Trump caused any of this is absolutely detached from reality and ridiculous.
Yeah,
but the average person doesn't realize it because CNN will never tell them that, will never explain it in that timeline in a way that they'll understand.
I think it is apparent that he's more either a result of this problem of society or is a symptom or however you want to respond to it. Because like he didn't even want to be in politics in the beginning. Like why would he? His kids didn't want it. They were like, dude, Don Jr.'s like, dude, I had to go to the best parties. Everyone loved me. Now I'm in politics. It's everywhere I go. It's like polarized. It's crazy. And so Don Senior felt compelled to run. He was like, if things get so bad, I will run. And that's because it's a symptom of the society getting so bad, of this sellout of our government.
Trump said that a long time ago. It was like the late 80s or whatever. Like, would you ever run for president? I think Oprah asked him or something. And he was like, if it got really bad and I had to do it. But imagine being Don Jr. and like you were just pointing out, you show up to any party and everyone's like, yeah, and they're cheering. You show up to a party you weren't invited to. Oh, everyone's cheering. Then your dad runs for president and now they hate your guts and they want to put you in prison. They want to steal all your money. And you're just his kid. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The things they go through for this.
And I think another big part of like the shift we're starting to see in attitudes towards Trump is also you can only beat up on someone so much. They gave him a mugshot. They've said anything and everything. You know, how many times can they believe their people are going to get him? Until you start to realize, well, maybe if I can see they're lying over here, and all these things that are coming out in the media with how the entertainment industry worked, etc., then maybe this is a lie too.
Watching NBC is wild.
It is
all
crazy.
of these hosts, like Joe Scarborough's brain just like fell out of his head a long time ago.
The crazy thing is I watched Morning Joe from the morning after 9/11, or I watched MSNBC from the morning after 9/11 until like 2010 or 2011 when I was just like, I can't take this anymore. And I watched as Joe Scarborough, who had a nighttime show and was pretty center Republican. Like he used to be a Republican congressman. And if people don't know, but like, I watched him just go completely insane. I personally think it was because of his budding relationship with Mika Brzezinski that was happening behind the scenes. But like he still went from reasonable, and I watched the whole channel just go completely insane.
Tucker Carlson was on MSNBC.
He was, yeah.
I remember Scarborough being very reasonable.
Yeah, Scarborough country.
2007. He was I think he was against the war in Iraq. He wasn't big on the Middle Eastern wars, and then I dipped out for 15 years, and now when I see him, it seems like I'm watching Keith Olbermann.
Yeah.
What if
losing his mind? I don't like it.
What if what happened is that a meteor crashed on Earth carrying a bunch of slugs that enter a person's brain in their sleep and take them over, and that's what we're experiencing?
I saw that movie.
How else do you explain, people like Joe Scarborough, their brains turning to jello? Like the people who have just genuinely gone insane.
It's like
Scarborough.
I'm kidding about the aliens. I know Media Matters are going to write. Tim Pool believes aliens have come.
Scarborough did it for the nookie, but like other people, he did it all for the nookie because Mika Brzezinski was like, let
Come
me
and
tell
get
you,
that
Joe.
cookie.
Really? She's like, let me teach you
stick it
about
up here.
politics.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here to learn.
Yeah, stick it up my I love Limp Bizkit. You should go buy their newest record. It's awesome. But anyways, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough started a relationship while they were both married, and while they both worked at started doing Morning Joe. So.
Well, let's talk
I wonder
about
about Trump though, because like it's about can he win? Can he win? He can get the votes for sure. Can he survive? Will this deep state let him live and do his thing?
Right.
Maybe, but maybe if we can get Trump to work on this new world order thing, and we can all come together and be like, let's make a new world order legitimately that's better than the liberal economic order that uses American constitutionalism.
Right.
Will help lead. We don't have to be in front every second. We'll work together.
I agree. I mean, let's invade Canada. Let's just
culturally first, ideally. Yes.
I in 2028, my plan will be to explore running for president under the platform that I will bring all troops back, line them up on the northern border, and then march into Canada and take what is rightfully ours.
Got my vote.
Canada was almost ours in the War of 1812.
Yeah.
And we went for Montreal, and then they burned down the White House.
With your plan actually has a better chance of having people receive us as liberators than Iraq did, because there are a lot of people that are very much like Americans in Canada that are like, yo, our Canadian government is out of hand. Like they're going ham up there with like the coming down on people for speech and for internet posts. And
He took away handguns, Trudeau.
Yeah,
Was it
they're-
unilateral? Did he like sign a piece of paper and said,
And
now no one...
the crazy thing is,
get caught?
they're passing gun laws in response to things that happened in the United States. So it's totally
Yeah.
about virtue signaling. Because it's a whole different context in Canada, what their gun laws are and their culture up there, like who's carrying guns, and what the people feel like they should be allowed to do when it comes to handguns and stuff. It's totally different. So for them to respond to a crime in the United States by banning guns up there, it's all because Trudeau is a clown of a politician that is only worried about the way that his image is on the international scene. It's all about image.
We got to liberate Canada.
I mean, look, I'm not for an expansive kind of international foreign policy, but I tell you what, the Maple brothers and sisters need love. They do.
You see, here's my view is that there's a shared culture dating back to the time of the colonies between us and many of those colonists, and those people are being oppressed by their government, thus giving us a justification. So the first thing we'll do is we will politely request that they cede the territory of Montreal. I'm not saying all of Quebec, but Montreal to us, and if they refuse, then we invade.
Well, I think that we'll have better chance with
I'm not serious, by the way.
I think we'll have better chance with your plan if we
Medium
don't
matters.
go after the French and we go after the English-speaking Canadians, because they're more polite than the French Canadians are. The French Canadians are much more likely to tell you to go to F
Timcast
yourself.
has had 2 number 1s in Edmonton.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
Is that Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Then we're going there first, baby. Then
Let's go.
We'll be greeted as liberators.
The problem with liberating a territory and not conquering it, just liberating it and letting it become free, is what we see in Cuba. We can see a result of America liberating Cuba from the Spanish Empire and then just letting it be free, and then it became a communist dictatorship. Oops. Could have made that a state, one part of the United States. In retrospect, would
Like
they,
Gaza?
if they knew ahead of time what was to come, would they have just conquered it?
I always go back and forth on how like free they actually want to be, because obviously we all probably have a lot of audience that is from Canada, and so they want to be free. But it's also, I think we underestimate as Americans how dystopian it really is there. Like they kill their poor they do the suicide stuff.
now they're doing like medical assistance in death for
Yeah.
like autism and depression and homelessness.
that's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
really
Well, look,
disturbing.
once the population drops substantially, then we don't even need to liberate. We just walk in and there's nobody there. It's like, well,
is it
they
like,
left all this stuff for us. A lot of maple syrup.
are they what's that where you start to love your captor? That
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm
do they have
syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome against the King of England? Because whenever I'll be like,
He's not in
Canada's
charge.
part of the monarchy, that's what they say. They'll be like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Don't even look over here. Avoid that piece of paper that says we are. We're not. We're a solo country. And you're like, dude, you're part of the British Commonwealth. They own you. They can shut off your parliament. Like, you guys got to get away from monarchy. What can I tell you?
But they can't. They can't shut off the parliament.
The king can
It's like-
disband parliament. At least
Yeah, it's vestigial.
technically. Well,
Like, bro, we have laws on the books that say you can't put pie on your windowsill on Sunday. No cop is going to come and stop you putting pie on your
we've
windowsill.
never seen a king exercise his authority in the modern era.
And what
A
happens when you
monarch-
don't
a British
exercise?
monarch.
You lose your muscle. I'd be willing to bet that if the king came out and was like, I have cancer, so I'm taking over Canada, they'd be like, no.
Just total
And
secession.
not only that, didn't Canada have some declaration in like 1950 about severing from the king or something like that anyway?
I'm not sure. I think there's still connections to the crown in Canada. There's technicalities that people don't ever, probably along the lines of blue laws in the United States. But if I understand correctly, there are still ties that bind Canada to England. I mean, they still have the Queen, or they had the Queen on their money, until, I don't know if they put the King on their money now, but I know that the Queen was on their money for a while. So there's got to be some kind of connection.
I would be interested to see what would happen if the king was like, I'm taking over New Zealand, Australia, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Australia is a vassal of the United States.
Well, Australia, they actually had their government dissolved or frozen by the Queen, I believe. So this
Really?
is this is super wave tops information. So I'm going to Google.
Well, let's shift over to what's going on in New York City. We have this is an interesting story from SCNR. Former Real Housewives star Bethany Frankel says she was randomly hit in the face in New York City. So it's a crazy crime spree, and I don't understand it. And I'm sorry for all the other women that it's happening to, Frankel said. There's been a wave of women being randomly punched in the face in the Big Apple. Frankel, 53, commented on a video by a fashion student who said she was punched, writing the same thing had happened to her a few months before. So this has been going on a lot longer than people realize. And I want to pull up this this meme from Austin Peterson that he responded to. Let me see if I have it right here. Here we go. Let's pull this one up. So we had Brad Palumbo respond to me saying, no, the violent victimization of innocent women at random is not hilarious, no matter how insane some of NYC's policies, which not all New Yorkers support, are. To which Austin Peterson says, it can be hilarious when it includes irony. Irony is inherently humorous. If they didn't vote for it, then it's not funny. They didn't expect the Democrat voting would lead to this. Oh, whoops, slipped on a banana peel I just dropped. And he shows this old meme from back during Occupy. This was in Portland. A woman screaming while getting blasted in the face with high pressure pepper spray. And it says, wants more government and more government.
There it is.
It's literally what it is.
So in New York, when AOC comes out and says, I want to get rid of police, they go, I'm going to vote for her. And then she goes, we're going to strip NYPD of $1 billion, a sixth of their funding. They go, I'm going to vote for that again. And then a guy walks up, punches him in the face, and they go, why is this happening to me? I'm like, well, you know, what do you want me to do about it, huh?
It's so specific, though. Is it organized, like people planning to just punch? It seems like there's a million things you can do to violently assault someone. It's all so specific.
Mentally ill people who are being released are going around and just punching people.
It is terrifying to see like people committing horrendous crimes, getting no jail time, let out immediately. And it is what you vote for, you know?
There are a certain percentage of every population that does not possess the ability to function in normal society. That's all there is to it. Like some people have mental illness, some people have, drug problems, whatever it is. But there are certain things that you have to do to maintain a home, to stay, to be able to function in society. And there are people that just aren't going to be able to do that. And what we have decided to do with them is just let them go and be on the streets. And as long as that's our answer, this is what's going to happen.
Because it was like put them in insane asylums or whatever you called them in the 80s.
It used to be insane asylums, and then when people were violent, it just turned into people that throw them in jail.
I mean, take a look at this.
Other people just tried to completely kill that segment of the population, like eugenocide.
So this is a video from Andy No. And he says, take a look inside. I don't know if he filmed it, but he posted it. Take a look inside. This is a tiny home that got set up. They buy these for the homeless. The city pays $16,000 for similar housing units for the homeless. It's in Portland. And that's it. An abandoned cesspool of garbage and filth.
Yeah.
And so
it's literally a trash can.
And their solution is don't call them homeless. They're houseless, or they're people
unhoused.
Unhoused.
And
yeah.
What they're doing is they're like, we're going to spend a bunch of money buying little homes for them to live in, and then they dump inside of them, turn them into garbage, and then leave.
It's like the house clearly isn't the problem here.
Yep.
It's a million other things that they don't want to address.
Yeah.
And you see this whenever, I lived in LA for many years, and blue city, blue state, that's the best way to learn that you probably shouldn't vote blue. I mean, just living in that is a scene that you're likely to see walking around anywhere in LA, New York, big cities.
Look, in New York, you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
It is quite literally as Solzhenitsyn described. If you're in New York and you defend yourself or others, they put you in jail like Daniel Penny. They're trying to lock that guy up. That's insane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And because of the behaviors that the governments of these cities are, because of the policies they're instituting, you're only going to get more of this. And this is actually something that is intentional. There were tweets yesterday that I was sharing of people saying, we aren't going to make anything better by putting people in jail. There are just some people that cannot be in society. It's a small percentage, but the problem is there's millions of people in New York City. And when you have a gigantic population, even if it's 0.5%, that's a lot of people because it only takes one person to cause absolute mayhem. And so if you've got a certain amount of the population that are just completely unprepared to live what we consider a normal life, then they're going to cause problems. And the people on the left are consistently saying just because they have an alternative way of knowing the world and they're neurodivergent, and because they experience the world different to you doesn't mean they're bad, and we can't treat them bad, and we can't take away their liberty, and blah, 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 blah. And it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's one of the cruelest,
100%,
paths you can take for these
100%.
people. It's basically just saying, F off. Allow them to F off. And if they invade your space, well, then maybe you shouldn't have been in their space. And it's cruel to them because especially if you live in these cities or just visit one and you see it's like, it's so not a normal human thing to walk by people on the street and not know if they're like alive or dead. And that's a common thing every day walking.
LA is crazy.
It's insane. I realized what it did to even my psyche once I moved away, that like I just felt healthier. It's like, well, maybe I'm not walking past dying people every day.
Where did you live when you were in
Hollywood, the middle of it.
Oh, you were in
Oh,
Hollywood?
man, the middle of it,
And
yeah.
then you go to Austin for the first time and you're hanging out with Malice and you're like, so this is a great place, but where are all the dead bodies? Like we don't have those.
Something's missing.
You don't
I
have
know.
those?
Is it the
Something's
smell?
missing.
Is the smell?
Yeah.
There's no sour milk, needles, and dead people. It's like, we don't have that here.
But it demoralizes you too. It's like, I think the really scary part of this is that it's no coincidence that, it defies logic that you would let someone out, like you said earlier, the story Anna Kasparian was talking about, like corpses found and that person gets let out, but it's intentional. I think it's to demoralize and destroy the city.
It's also
Just thought of something. What if we literally get a scenario where Trump shoots someone on Fifth Avenue because a guy is about to punch him in the face, and then Trump's with a security detail and like grabs the gun and saves the woman or whatever?
Oh God, it's a great campaign.
I'm just like, Trump famously says he could shoot a person on Fifth Avenue and not lose any votes. Yeah. And if the context was he's saving the life of a woman who's about to be killed by a deranged murderer, then it's like...
And like a bunch of children. He saves like a family of 7.
Well, then they would go to race. Was the homeless person, black or white? And then they balance it out. Like
they would just say the person was, like Kyle Rittenhouse.
In addition to the toxic compassion that leads to people letting, deranged individuals out on the street, they're great, let them out, what are they... There's the big business of homelessness, which is just really disturbing, where they are people, these middle management, they make $50,000, $100,000 a year to oversee a group community. Nonprofits, these companies, who knows what NGOs, that if the homeless find houses, they're all out of jobs. So they don't want it to stop. They make so much money.
I need to tell you, I think nonprofits are a big portion of the problems in this country. And the reason is we can complain about for-profit business all day and night. T-Mobile, maybe you've had bad customer service, but they make you got a phone that works. You call people on it, and then maybe the company can have bad things. But what if you start a business and the purpose of your business is fixing windows? Ryan Long did this Antifa window repair. At night they're Antifa, in the morning they're fixing the windows and they're getting paid. Nonprofits cannot. They don't want to go under. So what do? They perpetuate the problem. Or they exaggerate the problem, they lie about the problem. But a lot of nonprofits don't actually want to solve the problem they claim to be facing because then they're out of jobs.
It concerns me about the illegal immigration too, like what nonprofits are popping up right now, or NGOs are popping up to create like a permanent state of illegal immigration and profiting off of it.
Right.
That look,
that's what immigration lawyers are.
At this pace of illegal immigration, 300,000 per month, we're looking at the complete dissipation of the United States within a few years.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the homelessness is part and parcel to it. They're connected issue, because a lot of those people could be illegal immigrants. I wouldn't know walking by the guy laying on the side of the road.
Many of them are.
Yeah, true.
I mean, look at Chicago. They were going to build a camp. They started construction on a camp, and then people revolted and they stopped. So they just got all these illegal immigrants just sleeping in random places. And so what are they doing? They're taking over public buildings and giving them to non-citizens.
And then you think of, it's a slightly different, topic, but just all the laws in California allowing people to bum rush into stores and just steal just so much stuff, and it's like, it's clear that there's an intentional destruction of society that's underway right now.
Did you feel that while you were living there?
Oh, absolutely. Especially this is why we were saying before we went on camera, it was like, you really saw who was who during the pandemic and COVID, because it was clear as day. It was like, oh, this is intentional. Everyone losing their jobs, despair, people being scared, the city going to ruins. It's so clearly intentional.
Wasn't like that out in West Virginia.
Right. And that's,
it wasn't like it was perfect. There were things that were going on,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it was like, there's like one store nearby. I don't want to call them out, but they had like, you have to wear a mask. And then there's another store, comparable one, like competition across the street, no mask. And it's like, well, we all know where we're going.
Yeah.
So people in West Virginia were just like, I'm not wearing that.
that's part of the problem with it in a way, is that like everyone's idea of what really went down during that is so disjointed based on where you lived. Like you could have lived out here where you barely felt it, or you could have lived where I lived where there was tanks on the street.
When we were
It's like, wow.
When it first started, we were in Jersey and we had a backyard. The backyard had a big concrete slab and a mini ramp. So for the most part, like Ian's sitting in the back starting fires in the fire pit. We're hanging out after the show, just sitting there enjoying a nice fire pit, and we're like, this is what we normally do anyway. So there was no great stressor on us. I'd wake up, work all day in the house. We would go out to eat sometimes, and then when things locked down, we were just like, I don't know.
Then the helicopters began. We started hearing helicopters, and we were like, maybe it's time to get out of here.
Well,
we were already
it
planning
was the
on leaving
riots.
anyway.
The riots crossed the
Yeah.
bridge into the Jersey side. But for people in New York, you are locked in your cubicle. Your cubicle little box apartment you couldn't leave, and you're sitting there for weeks.
Yeah.
That's like
Rotting.
I gotta empathize with those people. I think there's a lot of those people that are just traumatized.
I was living in a 2-bedroom at the time. Trauma. for sure.
The issue is that what New York should have done is about 1 week into people being told to lock down, they should have chained all of their doors shut so they couldn't get out.
Yeah, they did that in. I hear that worked in China.
Yeah.
With 5-star review.
They were welding doors shut. There's one video
Literal welding.
where they're taking a gigantic metal beam and they're putting it between a wall and the door so the door can't be open. Yeah, it's insane.
so-
And then they were like, "We have
Sick.
zero COVID." Everyone, they announced they had no more COVID in the country.
A guy pushed his refrigerator onto his balcony and opened it to show he had no food left.
That's so sick.
Don't want to live in China.
Insane.
Yep. You are a meat cog in their machine.
And I think part of going back to like all the crime we're seeing now that's waking hopefully a lot of people up, is that I think people had an idea that after COVID it was getting better, but then they came in and enacted all the laws that you could shoplift and just destroy businesses. And so it didn't really get better. They just created new problems.
Yeah, the open border is insane.
Yeah.
But we do have good news, ladies
What?
and gentlemen. We got him. Illegal immigrant TikTok influencer who told others how to squat in American homes has been arrested by ICE.
Wow.
We got him, ladies and gentlemen, and he was crying. He was so sad. Yeah. So
He
not
was
that
crying when he got picked up? That's great.
No, he was crying in some TikTok video about, or some video online about how they were they were banning him from TikTok or something.
Drag.
But
Oh, I thought he was getting deported.
I believe he is going to be deported. He skipped. So this is what they did. He illegally enters. They give him a notice to appear date, and he just throws it in the garbage. Because that's what they all do.
Yeah.
Then he says, I'm making a bunch of money. Why don't you guys just steal Americans' homes? And the only reason, I assure you, he regrets making that video. Because if he didn't make that video, they'd have given him a pat on the back.
Yeah.
It was a disgusting video. Just
Yep.
the energy of it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, this country's being invaded. It's being invaded by people who know they can steal property. And it's happening in places like New York because New York is run by communists. Kathy Hochul and Letitia James are trying their hardest to burn New York to the ground. Look, did you know Letitia James is like 60-something years old? I think she's
really?
65. She does not look
Good
65.
for her. She looks young.
Yeah, but they're trying as hard as they can. Let me pull up. I think she's 65. She is 65 years old. Isn't that crazy?
Nice work.
I feel like they are far leftists who a long time ago said we need to infiltrate the system so we can destroy everything around us, and they did, and that's what they're doing. There's no logic behind any of their plans.
No.
Just burning it all to the ground.
And what's really sick is if you know that if there was like a disproportionate, they would vote red, all the immigrants coming in, it's like they wouldn't be doing this. It's
What do you
literally
mean?
It's literally because they can get more votes. It's a big part of
Oh,
it.
like if
It's
they-
also just changing the landscape of the country, destroying culture.
Yeah, I think the votes that they're gonna just being part of the census, all these extra congressional seats go to the House. Are they going to the House of Representatives? What are they going to? The House of Representatives? They just get a bunch
That's
more
the
congressional representatives.
That's what the census does. It
Oh my
apportions
God.
them.
So-
It's the same number of representatives. It's just how they get apportioned.
My first
changes.
thought with this dude that got caught, this guy who's getting deported, was that they should make him make a new video saying, "Do not come here and do not take people's houses." It's like I want to force this guy But this is what they would have done in Vietnam for the prisoners of war. They have you make a video and say, the Vietnamese are fine. I'm being treated perfectly. Like, I want to make this guy, I want to use him as propaganda to undo the damage he did. But now I'm like, am I the psychopath? Am I the villain trying to make my captor say the thing I want him to say to manipulate people? Maybe I am, but I want to manipulate people for good.
Yeah, that's the psychopath. I don't even know how you could be that much of a loser to be proud of the fact that you're stealing a home. I mean, that's just... I don't know where that comes from.
He must literally have thought there are empty houses and just they're available. He must have thought that because he was so much fervor.
No,
I think it was more nefarious.
It was
I think it was
malice.
like, I can do whatever I want. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's sick, because there's no way that's just one off. You know, there's clearly that mentality in general happening. Not with all of them, obviously, but it's not like it's non-existent. You see it here, you know.
Yeah, it was actually terrifying to listen to him.
Yeah.
Like, to see the animalism in his eyes as he's like, we're going to take.
Yeah, like, who are you? Country aside, where you're coming from, but who are you as a person, you know? Like,
there are people that are just inherently malicious towards others. Like that was like he intentionally made it like that. There was there's no misunderstanding the tone. There was no misunderstanding the look on his face. There was no misunderstanding the intonation of his voice. Even if you didn't understand the words, you got that it was not friendly, warm, and inviting, and trying to sound like he wanted to come to America and have gainful employment and actually start a business. He was looking to take stuff from people and make it his own and steal it. So. And there are people like that. And also the people that are motivated to leave their countries are motivated to leave their countries for a reason. They don't have families. They don't have wives. They don't have kids. They have, or they're going to send money back, right? Because it's almost like, it's like, I don't know the numbers, but it's mostly dudes that are young, like fairly young dudes that have been coming across. It's economic migrants, people that want to come here, make money somehow, and either send it back or, just make money and try to live the best life they can.
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
The optimist in me, that's still there, thank God, does feel like maybe it's a good thing this story happened and this person did go viral, because it kind of shows that, like, that sort of, blue-pilled narrative of like, oh, it's just a helpless family and they're just trying to find the American dream and it's stacked against them and, we have to help them. It's like, that's not in that at all. That's a straight predator, and if people can just see that, hopefully it wakes them up. I'll try to be optimistic with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is like an inoculation time in human history where we're becoming rapidly adaptable to fake crap and new stuff and resilient towards believing the first thing we see and overriding our compassion to like do the right thing. I think we're definitely in that age right now.
At the very least, the younger generations are completely ignoring the corporate press.
Yeah.
They've just become like Joe Scarborough and CNN, MSNBC. They may as well just be saying blah, 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 because nothing they say, like younger people are just like, yeah, we get it. You're lying.
It's what my grandma watches,
Yep.
It's like, it's not.
Maybe people are becoming better at reading tone, because this guy's tone was insane in the video. It was like vile, anger, danger guy, like bad man, just from his tone. I didn't even know what he was saying, but you could tell. And I think people that would consider themselves on the left are very emotionally driven. They're driven by tone. So if they probably sense this guy's malice.
And just holding the baby and stuff gave it like a really, gross vibe. So hopefully it is waking people up.
I haven't seen the one where he was holding the baby.
Was that a different person?
I just saw the
No,
first
that was
one.
him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it like a baby doll? Like a toy?
No, it was like a human baby.
Yeah, like a human baby.
But you never
as
want to
opposed
see
to like a dog baby or
yeah, it was like a human one. But you never want to see like an angry person like that who's giving off those predator vibes holding a baby. It's like, it's not a good look, which is a good thing that it's not a good look for that.
Almost all of these law enforcement stories are about illegal immigrants raping children.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like recent ones, new ones?
Yeah. Just like all over. It's nuts. And the thing is, those are the egregious crimes that we hear about in the press. Think about all the stuff you just don't hear about.
Yeah.
Think about the fact that most people don't even report crimes when they happen. Guy gets his phone stolen. What's he going to do? They snatch your phone out. You're going to call the cops. The cops are going to be like, we're not taking a report on that.
Yeah.
You lost your phone. Well, good luck.
Most people I know, I would say, that have been victims of crimes, and nothing huge really, but people don't really call the cops. Everyone kind of has an inherent towards the cops. Like, what are they going to do?
There's a significant bias to not call the police if there's no no kind of like damage to your person, right? If you don't
Yeah.
get hurt, or if no one gets hurt, if it has to be a significant property crime for people to be like, yo, people won't even call because their car gets vandalized, right? Someone goes
Yeah.
and smashes their car or whatever. Call your insurance company, because the police aren't going to do anything about it. If your car gets stolen, it's probably not worth telling the police and just going right to your insurance company, I imagine, because the cops aren't in the business of tracking down stolen cars. They just don't do it. If they catch people stealing them, they grab the people. But they're not in the business of like, let's go find all those cars that get stolen. So, there's no incentive to call the police for anything other than, I'm in danger. And there are police departments across the country that are starting to say, we can't even cover that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, and I'm included in this, that kind of have the philosophy that if something were to happen, say someone breaking in my home, someone physically assaulting me, my mind wouldn't even go to police until the situation's already resolved, whether it's me defending myself or whatever, getting out of it. Then you think, okay, maybe I should do that now, because there's no feasible way for them to help you. That's why you have to have guns. But
when what is it? When seconds matter, police are minutes away.
yeah.
But that's what happens when you live in a place like New York. Even when we had Luke on, we were talking about gun ownership in New York and the risk of like, what if someone's got a 308 and they're in their apartment and they shoot it, rips through a bunch of buildings and hits a kid or something. And Luke stumbled. He did. He said, maybe we should restrict certain rounds. I was like, there you go. Maybe you should just be responsible. And, if you shoot a weapon like that, you get in trouble for it.
There are already crimes against, there are property crimes, there are crimes against accidentally harming people, or there are laws against that. There are laws against improper use of a firearm. There's laws against firing a firearm improperly in places. There are more laws than you need to cover that. Making one more law that says you can't have that gun because it might go through you might hit someone is not going to help.
This is why we need the Justice Lords. Do you know what that is? When the Justice League and an alternate reality became despots and just took over the planet.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Because the problem is, you'll have a guy who is driving in his car, and then I got a story for you. A guy was driving in his car, this was in Illinois, and then he rear-ended a vehicle in front of him, killing 3 of the people in that car because he was at full speed, going 70 miles an hour up the ramp. They were stopped, slammed into him, launched him forward. Car got hit a couple times. Everybody dies. It was a car malfunction. There was an accelerator issue that caused the car to accelerate out of control. That guy went to prison. Why did he go to prison? Is he a criminal? No. Was there in his mind criminal intent? No. Did he intentionally do anything? He did not. But the family that was emotionally impacted demanded that he go to prison because they want to feel better. There are a lot of instances where people go to jail not because they're criminals, but because people want to feel better. There's a lot of instances where people go to jail not because they're criminals, but because they accidentally drove over a bridge carrying their legally permitted weapon and a cop didn't care and went and locked her up. So I'm joking about a supreme despot, but I understand why a lot of people are saying they want a strong man to come and take over, because they want rigid, uniform, focused cleansing of criminal actions and corruption in the country, and that can't be done through. I feel like the process, the system we have, the end result was always going to be the gradual accumulation of corruption. Why? Because the underlying ethos of our civil order is that guilty persons should be free so that innocent persons are protected. But that means over a long enough time, you build a kind of a crust around the edge of the bowl. You got to scrape it off eventually. Well, I don't have all the answers. But there are a lot of people who see that and say, just send in the emperor, let him come and clean everything up, and then we start over.
Right.
I don't know that you'll ever get to start over as soon as you have something like that, though. Unless you get lucky with like a Cincinnatus, or you could just go the route of Rome, and then you get varying empires and varying civil wars, and the whole thing explodes, and then you get the Dark Ages.
Yeah, the United States is too valuable to give to the hands of a man. That's why we have this decentralized unification. And honestly, if we can keep local police tight and strong, we're good. Otherwise, we will need a strong man to torch it all to the ground and start over. And that ain't right.
I think it's inevitable, because if you look at Rome and how it went from, it's a republic, but then eventually they're just like, okay, enough of this. We're taking over. It's an empire now. The same thing's going to happen here. When the corruption builds up enough that the system cannot maintain itself, it will break. And when it does, strong men will fight each other until one person takes over. And then you have an empire.
So,
Go
ahead.
Part of it's the destruction of community, right? Because I've heard a lot about how, in New York City, there used to be a big culture of, and people have a problem with it partly, but, Italian gangs were policing the streets, and Italian gangs would kind of hang around certain neighborhoods, and you couldn't just get away with coming in and punching a random woman in the face or coming in and raping someone or robbing someone, because that was sort of how it was. There was a sort of essence of like, we police our own streets, whether the cops do it or not. And now, the only vigilante story I can even think of in recent times is Rittenhouse, and they tried to destroy him.
Well, and Daniel Penny now, who's currently in, and he barely qualifies as any kind of vigilante. He just was trying to stop someone from hurting other people on the subway.
Yeah, that just doesn't exist anymore. Everyone's in their own zone, in their own world. And there's how many videos do you see? I see them all the time where a woman or anyone is being hit by some random crazy person, and everyone's just watching. Worse, filming.
Yeah, right. So Thomas Massey tweeted this morning, and I retweeted it. And in his estimation, there are 3 places we end up. He says, steer our government away from economic collapse, 1. 2, economic collapse and then renaissance, totalitarianism, or national divorce, which I think all 3, I think Renaissance is unlikely, totalitarianism or national divorce are the ones that would end up happening, or a slow devolution into Chinese-style communism and central control. That's the one that's most likely because of like the internet and people's reliance on devices that are constantly monitoring you. So, it's not exactly a happy outlook, but I think it's probably the most likely.
Yeah, and you read the last line of that: slow devolution into Chinese-style communism and central control.
Yeah,
no one remembers freedom. That is, I think you're right. If we do nothing, the most likely outcome is we become technological serfs. That's what they want.
James Lindsay's coined digital cattle.
I think the intro to 3 Body Problem should be required in schools for children to watch. Have you guys seen it?
No.
There should be education on all totalitarianism, so communism as well as Nazism. It's you get a decent understanding of how bad Nazism is. You don't get any understanding of how bad communism is, and communism is arguably as bad as or worse than Nazism because of the sheer numbers.
All right, let's. It's hard to frame it properly. I'll only show like a quick couple seconds just because
I thought it was colorized footage of.
No, this is the show 3 Body Problem. So they have a physics professor in a dunce cap on stage while they're all screaming, and they tell him to reject science. What she's saying right now, she's also a physics professor.
That's his wife.
And she's unharmed, and she says, the youth of the revolution have showed me the way. I was completely wrong about everything. Certainly, you will renounce your incorrect views. And then they end up just beating him to death.
He's like, physics are real. That's just the way it is.
And they say like, and you claim that there is a God or something, and he's like, there's no evidence one way or the other, and they just start beating him to death.
Yeah, and the thing is that is emblematic of things that actually happen in China. You can hear stories about Tofan Lysenko and medical and Lysenkoism in the Soviet Union, which is essentially, he was like, hey, this is how plants like it. It's literally the Brondo story. Okay. It's where it came from. They were like, he's like, look, plants are communist. All of that Darwinism stuff, that's all Western, and that's all just bullcrap. Plants are communist. So if you plant plants that are like each other, close to each other, they will flourish because they will actually help each other, which is absolute horse crap. And it caused a massive famine and killed millions and millions of people. And this is something that happens in communist countries all the time. It is counter enlightenment. It rejects reality. It rejects the fact that we can know reality close enough so that way we can predict outcomes. And you see it today when it comes to people talking about the ability to change genders. And with Blaire here, it's like Blaire is a trans woman, but Blaire is under no illusions as to if she becomes a biological woman. She's not.
There's no point to divorce those two things. You know what I mean? And that's the difference.
Yeah, and you end up hurting people when you tell them that actual science and biological facts, reality, like plants don't need to be planted on top of each other because they compete for resources in the soil. Like that kind of stuff spreads through your society and it kills people.
Remember?
And it trickles out to so many different things, unhoused, not homeless. And then you're suddenly denying the ways to actually help people.
Like some of my favorite is pig iron.
Yeah.
So they melted down all the tools. What is it, for weapons or something? Is that they're trying to make?
I believe.
It was just to make like kilns. It was like to jumpstart China into a like industrial power. So all they did was make a whole bunch of crappy metal, and
that didn't
really
work.
help anybody.
And then because this is the fascinating thing about someone who's really dumb, who doesn't understand surface level thinking. It's like, hey, we need an industrial revolution. That'll make us wealthy. I know. Let's take all the tools we have and turn that into industry. And then they made garbage that didn't work, and then they all starved. And then they went and killed all the sparrows. Remember that?
Yeah. I was gonna say they doubled down after all the crops were failing, and they're like, oh well, the crops are failing, and like
because the
they're being eaten by the sparrows, right?
So you got to kill, and then the locusts came.
Yeah.
And then there's so many locusts with no sparrows, dude. It's unreal.
You guys are 100% right, and these are things that people don't know about communism. It is not an Enlightenment philosophy. It rejects the idea that we can know reality closely enough that we can predict the future. And it says that romanticism is a better way to do it. That was all Rousseau's stuff, that we need to be animals first and civilized second. So we need to be animals in cities, and we need to embrace that as opposed to reason, because reason is fallible and reason can be mistaken, and we can make errors in reason. So the most real thing that human beings can experience is our emotions. So we should follow those, and that's how you get, I want society to be perfect.
Let's make a sci-fi short film where it starts with some people hiding in an attic, and then like the finale of it is dudes in like white unitards with weird sci-fi looking guns break in, and the people are like screaming. Then like the dad gets up and he has like a stick and he's like, get back. And then they grab him and they jab the gun into the side of his temple and click it, and it goes, and then when they pull it out, there's a Neuralink in his head, and he goes, and then he turns around to his family, and then he goes and he grabs their kids, and then they all stick him with the chips, and then they all turn and go, we're sorry about that, and they all walk downstairs.
That's a good intro to like a series.
Yeah.
Like that's the cold intro, 3 minutes or something. That'd be badass.
You got people like hiding underground, and the people who are in the Hive Neuralink are trying to find resistors and chip them.
There's part of me thinks that in the future there are going to be people that are transhuman and not transhuman, and there's going to be transhumans that are specifically take it upon themselves to defend the non-transhumans, so that way there are actual human beings that are allowed to be purely human beings. Like they're going to be a religious group of people that are like, we don't want any of this transhumanism, and it's going to take transhumans that have augmented abilities to protect the pure humans from other transhumans.
Think about where this goes.
Like real sci-fi shit.
We're not that far off.
100 years from now,
It's like Marvel Comics.
100 years from now, the average human they've got personal biofields that protect them from harm. They're immortal. They wear sleek unitards and they can float through the air. And then there are Amish type Mennonites who don't want to become. And then funny thing is, probably it's like traditional conservatives today. Like, we do not want to become whatever you are. And so they're basically in zoos. They're effectively in reserves,
like
where
farms,
they can,
giant enclosed farms.
And then
they just grow the food.
And the transhumans are all mentally linked, and they're just like, they grow food and the food is used, so we have they're of no consequence to us. And there's weird people floating around, and their eyes are glowing and weird crazy nonsense.
And people don't realize how close, if it's possible, right? So there's always the question of this, if it's possible to do this. It may be, it may not be. But if it is possible to write experiences into the brain, right? Because that's essentially what Neuralink is the goal, is to be able to put ideas and experiences into the brain without actually having to do it. That's the purest virtual reality.
The dude abides super chat. The F in communism stands for food.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
True. I think because we were talking about communism and how the forced, equalization of the farming industry. They're like, if we melt down all the iron, we'll do this. But it had implications that they
failed,
had foreseen.
yeah.
CRISPR, I'm looking at right now, coming out of China, big time CRISPR, it's gene editing. They don't know the implications of this. They're like, every human is the same. If we do equal this, all else. And it's like, yo, bro, you're experimenting with the human genome. You might have you could turn people feral. You could do lots of different unintended consequences, not least of all death to 99% of the people doing it. But like that on top of like mRNA therapy, which is also genetic therapy, like, do they understand the implications of foisting this on the species as a whole? I don't think they do.
Well, we see that in so many different ways, right? Like the vaccine was an example of that. It's like one size fits all. It's going to work for every single person. No argument against it. You're not allowed to say, well, I have this, or maybe I don't want it. It's like one size fits all, which is really the outcome of that.
That's the communist.
What's fascinating is how it's like, what year? I don't know what year it's 1989 they introduced the Borg. I think it was the first season of Next Generation the Borg was introduced. It's 89.
That was good.
So the general premise behind the Borg is that a species of human-like people started creating medical technology, and then they started integrating themselves, and then eventually they neuralinked themselves and became a hive mind. I'm not a big fan of where they took it, where there's a queen who controls all of it. It was much better when it was just a hive of all the thought of all of the beings, and so there was no individual.
Yeah, just like an AI computer would have been cool.
But it is fascinating how even before the advent of these technologies, we could the boomers who were making that show could see where this would go.
They need more Borg dogs, though. They don't have enough non-human Borgs. They'd have cats Borged up with them. They'd have all their pets.
No, technically in Star Trek, there's a whole bunch of different species that are Borg.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, because they capture anyone and they assimilate you into your technology and your culture will be assimilated. Resistance is futile, and there's no reason. And the fascinating thing is when the crew, like when they board the Borg vessel, they're ignored completely, and it's because like when you get like a bacteria in your system, like you get an infection, it is ignored until there's an immune response. So their idea was like, if humans from the Federation go into the Borg ship, the Borg just like, they're completely not a thing to us until they become a threat. Then they react to like an infection almost. I think there's a strong possibility with Neuralink. This is where we end up because the way it will start is you already have that dude who tweeted out through Neuralink.
Yep.
And I'm excited for the guy. This is the challenge. Here's a guy who I believe he's
quadriplegic.
He's quadriplegic.
This is the dude that played Civ.
Yeah, he can play Civ. I mean, that sounds amazing. A lot of people are probably happy to have some freedom back in their lives. But what happens then is when we advance to read-write capabilities, even if we get to the point where it's just a read, no write, meaning it can detect input from your brain and put it on a screen, meaning you'll be sitting in a room with like the doors closed, the windows closed, looking at a screen, and you're sending information out and you're just using your mind and it's happening super fast. You're absorbing information through your eyes with the screen, but you're sending information with your brain, so it's still rapidly speeding up the process. Once we get to that point where it can write to your brain and in your mind, you can see the responses for people, the exchange of information will be so rapid that it will be like the Borg. You will be walking in the street and three guys will turn and they'll come at you and you'll have no idea what's going on or why. But in their mind, they already got the alert. Police on the lookout. Be on the lookout for a guy wearing a maroon shirt with a black baseball cap. Everyone instantly knows and they turn and they point at you and you're like...
Everyone's Mr. Smith or Agent Smith.
Yep.
It's like, it's not like they all look like Agent Smith. They're all like the woman in red or whatever. But everybody's plugged in. And as soon as the update comes out, everybody's aware. And you know that actually that's similar to what happens with a blockchain, right? As soon as a new block gets added to the blockchain, then it gets distributed through the blockchain. They all have the same, every node on the blockchain or every computer on the blockchain has the whole blockchain. They've got all the information. So it's like, once it spreads through a system, that's it. It's there.
It doesn't happen instantly though. It does take time for it to proliferate. So things can get changed along the path. There are methods of corruption that you could use to disrupt the system like that.
I feel like this is what aliens are though.
Pardon?
Just people augmented with technology, an older civilization that survived.
I think
stragglers that are just hanging around still, trying to make us catch up to speed.
That's the most terrifying alien is a cybernetic alien, in my opinion, because that would be the most challenging to defeat in combat. Especially if they were solid state, they didn't use like electronics.
I don't think you could.
There almost is no combat, right? Like if they're on that level.
If they don't need food, like you can't starve them out, you can't burn them. I mean, you might be able to melt them.
It's any any system that understands binary would be able to infect our entire grid networks of all of our machines and take them over in only a short matter of time.
Yeah, but means we could do it to theirs as well.
But if they are integrated with it,
Dude, the machine AI.
The speed. It's a speed. It'll become just a speed thing. Like even if we could like hack them, as soon as you start trying to hack it, if it is an AI, then it's going to go ahead and know what you're trying to do, and it'll write code to stop you every chance.
let's jump to this next story. I just saw Phil tweeted this out. This is fun. Anna Kasparian is officially a conservative. She says, "I support Ron DeSantis, and I will vote for him in 2028. Everyone, all hail Ron DeSantis." I'm kidding. She didn't say it like that.
Oh, I was like, what?
She said, "Thank you for the free publicity. Yes, the bipartisan bill that DeSantis just signed protecting homeowners from thieves and squatters should be commended." Post Left Watch. I love that.
One of my favorite accounts.
They said Anna Kasparian praises Ron DeSantis and Florida for passing an anti-squatter bill and criticizes New York and California for sitting on their asses and doing nothing about it. She undercuts the premise when she says we don't know how widespread squatting really is. So I suppose it's only a matter of time before Anna comes out and says she's voting for Trump. And I think she might take, like, that probably would irk her that I said that. But it's reality. You can't deny it. You know, Anna, you're watching in real time people who believe in psychotic nonsense. It does not make sense to seize someone's home. It does not make sense to chop up bodies and put them in the drain and then not go to jail. And Anna knows this. And when she says, if this is what it means to be on the left, I'm not on the left anymore. And Jen goes, no, trust me, it's not. And then every single time they prove her right.
Yeah.
The left comes out and says, yes, we want this. Cenk is trying to maintain this facade for the Young Turks of we're progressive, trust me. But deep down, the more Anna reads, the more she knows they're wrong, they're crazy. And Cenk is just going to keep saying, no, trust me, don't worry.
I feel like he knows too, though. I mean,
Absolutely.
you can't be on the same, set with her talking about this and feel like she's wrong.
I can't speak to her, to what's going on inside of her head, but it seems like she's come in contact with reality. I continuously say that people that are on the left tend to have a counter Enlightenment perspective because they don't set their kind of foundation or the way they structure their lives based on reality. And I think that Anna's personal experiences and the things that she's seen have started to kind of wear away at the romantic idea that or a lot of the romantic ideas on the left. Go ahead.
What did you say this morning? I think Anna got mugged.
I do
Honestly.
I think she had a negative experience with I believe a homeless person. I don't know the whole story. I don't want to speak.
Was it true? Wait, actually,
yes, I
think she
That was
did.
a while, like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Really?
That's when she
I
first started
mean-
talking about crime.
yes.
This is
So-
why I say, though, like, everyone talks about, there's that saying that, like, progressives live in the future, conservatives live in the past. I don't think that's true. I think progressives catch on to things quite late, actually. They'll come to terms with, like, problems that exist and see it around them actually quite late. So she's talking about crime being a problem, in 2024. And most of us were seeing that 2020,
Yeah.
2021, and, like, losing our minds.
And also, like, it also speaks to the fact that there is a significant section section of the left that doesn't believe in putting people in jail at all.
Yeah. And you
Apparently, the Sam Cedar crowd was calling her the next Dave Rubin a year ago.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, she was starting around a year ago talking.
Well, but they also called her like a womb haver or something.
I think that was the first thing
Yeah.
is
That was the first thing she started talking about. And then the crime was the big one that she was like, wait a second.
And then she was like, wait, I read about Kyle Rittenhouse and y'all were wrong.
yeah, that happened as
Yeah.
well. I mean, look at all these things that she's, as far as we're concerned, these are things that were obvious and we've known and talked about for 5 years or whatever,
It's
right?
a cult.
Yeah, it really is.
So when you're in a cult and you're surrounded by people who are reinforcing the lies, it's hard to break out of it.
Yeah.
The mass media, the NBC, ABC stuff is like reinforcing that cult. It's a big media cult. The CIA was doing it with what was that program they were running in like the 60s and the 50s, just media manipulation program. Really popular, well-known CIA program of like just manipulating
I don't think
media.
it was popular. COINTELPRO or something like that.
Maybe.
COINTELPRO or
I
something
would,
like that. I'm not sure.
apparently the program's shut down now, but it doesn't mean that they stopped. This is just a big cult. It is a big cultural control mechanism.
What's the over under on Anna Kasparian announcing in October she's voting for Trump?
I don't think she would ever admit it, but I think that
Mockingbird.
she would
Do
do
it.
it in the. I think she'd do it in the
She
booth.
getting that booth
Operation
for sure.
Mockingbird is the name of the CIA program. Operation
That's when they
Mockingbird.
infiltrated media. I'm gonna be honest. I would bet. Yeah, she's gonna be like, I'm not gonna vote for Trump. She's gonna walk in the booth and hit Trump.
Yeah, and it goes to show, just like any cult, like you said, things just have to get so extreme for a few stragglers to start to be like, wait, you hear about people who leave actual cults, and it gets to the point where things are just so extreme. So, people not going to jail for having corpses in their house, and it's so crazy because for me,
That was
it's
the
like,
breaking point for
yeah,
Anna.
it's like there was a lot leading up to that, sis, but whatever.
I think in the age that we're in now, if you leave a cult and you have a microphone and you tell the world about the cult and expose it, you can completely dissolve the cult. One person,
Yeah.
We're not really in the age of this controlling mechanism crap that we used to be, and God willing, we'll never enter into again if we can maintain freedom. So it's easy kind of, once you're out of it, to kind of speak the truth, especially if you're the righteous one. I think then the cult will fall away. If it's the righteous cult, then you probably aren't going to be able to stop it.
I wonder how much she makes, the Young Turks. Because
I don't know.
she's been there for
$700,000 a year.
She probably makes something like that.
$500,000 more, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, she's been there for a long time. I know Jank is probably making millions.
Do they co-own the company? She has stock in the
I don't
company?
think so. But I was told by one of the guys at the Young Turks their subscriber numbers, but this was like 8 years ago, so it could certainly be higher or lower. I don't know. High, but not super high. But I know that they make millions of dollars. They probably make a lot more than that, and they have investment. But I wonder how much she makes. And
Got enough
Like,
to
and
be
is
able
it
to
worth
say
it?
this now.
well, so the issue is like, I have to imagine that Anna, after all this time of being on the Young Turks, has a pretty happy nest egg, and is not concerned at all about the negative repercussions of calling out the BS.
Because she could easily go independent, if she left or was fired for straying, she could go independent for sure.
Well,
How long
I mean,
have they been doing the Young
it's
Turks?
like 20 years.
Oh, a long time. I was a kid watching the Young Turks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
she's-
20 years.
She's like, I got enough money where I'm sick and tired of this socialist line because you guys are going to take my money. That's,
Yeah.
that's the long and short of it.
I don't think it's that. I think it's more so that, when you're younger and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with my career. I don't know how far I can go. And they say, play ball. You might get worried. You might be like, if I lose this job, what do I do? She's at the point in her career where she's like, I got money. Ain't nobody telling me what I can or can't say.
And she's just older, she was really young when she started. And also, I think you can't underestimate how powerful just the fact that she's built her entire social circle probably up around people that are hardcore lefties. And, you see it on the right too. People build their social circle around it. That's why, when you come out as a different, ideology or start thinking differently, you shed friends, you shed people.
I think the fact that she's a co-host actually has somewhat insulated her from the cultism of the cult. So for a lot of these people who host their own channels, like Hassan's Mental Breakdown, you saw that?
Yeah.
No.
Hassan's viewership is down like 60 or more percent. His core his subscriber base is dropping. He apparently had a meltdown because he only got 13,000 viewers on a stream where he normally gets, 40 or more.
Oh man, complaining about your viewers
That's
is
ridiculous.
the worst.
Well, his career's done.
What does it help?
If he drops
nobody
to this-
wants to be complained about.
Look, he has a breakdown. The issue is, for Hassan as the principal of his channel, he has to maintain the lowest common denominator of all his viewers. And if he can't at any point, they leave. Anna's a co-host. She can say whatever she wants.
True.
Whether subscribers come and go, if she's on salary, she doesn't care. Now, Cenk is the guy who's like, no, don't leave the left, because he's thinking, how many subscribers are we going to gain or lose from this line of thinking that she's
It's
taking?
his thing, yeah. This is why also I always say it's equally important to, gain fans or viewers or listeners as to alienating viewers and fans and listeners. Like, you should be alienating people. You shouldn't, it's easier said than done because you want to make the money, but like, you shouldn't always have to appeal to those lowest common denominator people. It takes you in a path that's just dark.
You eventually
Start
burn out.
lying. Yeah, you start lying.
Well,
So look at Hassan. This is what happens. He ends up supporting. He's being criticized by a lot of people for supporting terror and authoritarianism and calling babies colonizers. But it's because he kept trying to say what he thought his chat wanted to hear, so he went crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
And now
Because
everyone's like, "Yo, I'm out."
Because the extreme ones are the most vocal.
Yep.
So he's
yeah.
responding to the most vocal as opposed to the normal average person that's watching Hassan that was, honestly probably watched him because it was like, man, I think we should have free healthcare. That's literally
Yeah.
that was the
Entertainment.
doorway,
We have people who come on this show and they're like, "Oh, I read the comments," and I'm like, "Why?" That's like 0.01% of viewers.
Yeah.
And so you like, and they're like, "Yeah, but they're good. They're all great." I'm like, I understand that, but while it's great that people are commenting, and we recommend you comment and chat more, the majority of people who watch this are watching on their TVs. This is something I think is really important for a lot of people to understand. They're turning their TV on and they're opening YouTube TV or the YouTube app and playing the live stream on their TVs while they're hanging out. So they don't have the keyboards in front of them. They're just watching the show.
And most people don't comment in general. I mean, I remember before I was even a creator, I wouldn't just comment on stuff.
Yeah.
Why would I just comment on stuff? You know, unless I felt, I guess, really strongly.
It's the 1% rule. What do they call it?
Yeah.
That 1% of the people are responsible for 99% of the content.
So then you're getting led astray by the 1%. So you're losing a lot more people than you think by going in that direction.
This is why when I tweet, I think it's funny that women in New York City are getting punched and everyone loses their collective mind. I laugh. And people are like, they're super mad about it. It's so funny. And I'm just like, you know, I'll say it again. People have said to me over and over again, oh, if you insult or criticize this person, they'll never come on your show. And I'm like, and? I guess that's the limit of Timcast. I'm not going to get Cuomo on the show because I called his brother a murderer or something.
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, if that's what I was going for, I could be more like MSNBC or CNN and try to attract, you know, Cuomo to come. I don't care.
Well, a lot of people also treat politics like, you know, a group thing or trying to be part of a group rather than just saying what you mean and how you feel, you know?
Also, people that are saying those kind of things are used to the people that they're talking to responding to the offer of proximity. So like we've talked about, like, you don't get money for a lot of things that people in the press do. They don't get direct payments. But if you get Barack Obama's chief of staff's phone number, now that's valuable. That's worth way more than money. If he'll take your call, if Barack Obama's chief of staff will take your phone call or respond to your text, that is worth a whole lot more than 10, 20, 50 grand in your pocket. Honestly, especially if when you're at that level where you could possibly get that, 10, 20, $50,000 doesn't matter to you. Like that's whatever money. That's
social capital.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's all about who, like the vast majority of your life is about who you know and who you interact with. And all money is a social lubricant. It is a way to convince people to act for you. It's, hey, look, I need you to fix my drain. Would you come do it? No. If I give you $500, will you come do it? You bet I'll be there. That's all it is. It's a way to persuade. So, you know, and if you have power, then you don't need the money to get people to do things. And so that access to Barack Obama or maybe to Donald Trump or whoever, you know, to Joe Biden, to Hillary Clinton, those kind of the access to people, those people or the people around them is way more valuable than money.
I found with power and the definition of what that means, when you are speaking the truth and you believe what you're saying and you're real, people will listen to you and then they'll join you. And then you've created a movement that is irrelevant of the cost. It's like, it's the most powerful force on earth. And I think that's probably the most terrifying force to authoritarian power structures, is that an uprising of people that aren't in it they're in it for the right reasons. The money stuff's kind of side, but of course money is nice to be able to buy meals and fly.
It's real longevity too, like actual longevity. If you want to do politics or commentary for a living, is actually not being led astray by the few comments, you know, just being in your own little bubble, not reading comments and just saying what you truly mean and how you feel. Because when you're being influenced by, I want to be friends with this person, I want access to these parties, I want to be a social climber essentially, which is why a lot of people do it. That's when you start lying and they burn out one by one. I mean, didn't Hassan say he wanted to like off himself because of all this?
I think he was being dramatic, but apparently that was one of the
suicide thoughts usually
that was one of the posts.
If I understand, I don't have any kind of confirmation, so I don't. A lot
of that stuff starts as a joke, so he's probably going through a really low point right now to take it seriously. Yeah. The thing about comments I learned over the years is I read them. I often read all of them. I don't take any of them personally, good or bad. I try not to. And I just kind of look at it as like, they're using me as a concept and they're expressing what they feel. Yeah. And I'm just an idea and so if I don't take it personally, I also stopped responding.
That's a 20, by the way.
I stopped responding to the negative comments. I used to respond because they'd be the most stark. They'd be all nine good comments and one bad one being like, you smell. And I'd be like, no, I don't. And then I get more negative comments because they're like, this is the kind of comment Ian responds to is negative. So this is what I'll give more of. So I stopped. I had to cold turkey myself. Stop talking to those people, and then just for the really nice comment, I would respond to it, even if it felt like I was going out of my way. And then I started getting more nice comments.
Yeah.
You know,
so I was conditioning my audience essentially.
Exactly.
You know what I think? I think Anna should go independent.
Yeah, me too.
She'd make more money. And I'm curious to see what kind of audience she builds with her current line of thinking, being free from this and being able to say whatever she wants.
She could start a show with Sean, actual justice warrior. They're best friends now.
Are they actually friends?
No, he said that if she would unblock him, he would call her. They would be best friends forever. So
I assumed, I was like, it was acrimonious, but
I think they're cool now. I don't know if they actually have spoken, but I know that she did unblock Sean, and so Sean says that she is his best friend.
I've always had a soft spot for Anna. Between her and Jenks, she was always the one that, even when she was being a little crazy, she was far less crazy.
So here's the question: say she was to come on like the Culture War or IRL. What would we disagree on?
Has she been on here before?
No.
Maybe economics.
Jenkins. But here's the thing. The issue is, I do not believe we would disagree on facts, because we would pull up the facts and she would say, oh, like there's been so many instances where she's done the research and realized the people around her were wrong.
Yeah.
The difference between, the media loves saying this is far right or conservative, whatever. I'm like, if it's conservative to fact check, wow, what a world that we're living in.
Conserving the truth, maybe.
That's about it.
Fitness is conservative.
I'll give you an example. Right now, the Krasensteins are doubling down, arguing that Donald Trump committed fraud because puffery, because his company puffed up the value and the property sizes and submitted that to a bank to try and get a loan. What they're omitting is that they include in those documents that these are subjective and may be wrong. That's part of the documents that were provided. And as part of the negotiations, the bank does their own due diligence. The bank testified, one of the bankers involved from Deutsche Bank said, we actually evaluated his documents and lowered his estimated net worth way down, which is totally normal. We're happy with the outcome of this.
Yeah.
Everyone was happy. Nobody was tricked. They actually, as part of the process, review it. And so they omit that information. People come on this show who we disagree on tons of policy, but we look at the AP story on the Deutsche Bank testimony and we all agree. Okay, AP has reported, Deutsche Bank banker said, we reviewed the documents, we did our due diligence. Trump said that some of these things may be wrong. Okay, we accept that. We lowered his evaluation, offered him a loan based on those numbers. We offered him the product. They don't. They lie and hope that you don't find the truth.
Yeah.
Hassan's dumb, right? But those two are intentionally liars. Like the Donald Trump stuff is not, or at least the case in New York, this is not too complex for an average person to understand.
Yes, Letitia James campaigned on going after Trump.
Yep.
Kevin O'Leary, a real estate developer, said, look at the case. There's nothing here. There's no crime committed. Deutsche Bank testified. We did our due diligence. He did not deceive us in any way. We lowered the valuation and offered him a loan based on our assessment. And they went, not, but he lied in the first place.
This is not too complex for the average person. The average person, if they look into it and they're not using motivated reasoning, it's clear, which is, again, why Kevin O'Leary is speaking on this on every show that he can be on, because this strikes at the very fundamental ability for people to do business in New York City. It makes people afraid to do business. This is very clear unless you are intentionally dishonest.
And I'll tackle two things. In the Trump fraud case, first, consider this. It's the Trump organization, not Trump personally. The question is, they're saying, oh, Trump signed off on it. Dude, if you have a 300-page document, I don't know how big these documents are assessing value. Do you think Trump read through the whole thing? Or do you think he had a manager?
He probably had 4 dudes do it or something.
Exactly. And then he goes, this looks good. And that's why Trump testified. They say these are subjective and the values could be wrong. So then Deutsche Bank says, don't worry about it. We're going to go through it all anyway. Then people say he altered the square footage of the Trump penthouse from 11,000 to 30,000. Okay, first, Trump personally may have lied on that document and signed off on it to trick a bank. I accept that. Second, he also may have provided separate square footages based on what is residential, commercial, what is legally usable versus what is the actual size. I don't know the context because there was no evidentiary, there was no trial. The judge didn't allow people to come in and testify what this means. So I can tell you this. I don't trust a case where the bank says Trump didn't deceive us and we were happy with the results, and the judge says don't know, don't care. And I don't trust the results where they don't actually have witnesses come and testify on the evidence. What I can tell you is someone who owns property. If someone asks me, I'll ask you this, Ian, what's the square footage of this property?
Oh my God, 18,000 feet. 13,000 square feet.
13,000 square feet. Okay. Are you including the living and unliving space?
Yeah, every piece of housed.
What's the living square footage?
Oh, not the garage, not the giant skate park.
See, now here's the point. If I'm going to write down total square footage of property, I'm going to include the outdoor barn. We've got attic space. None of it is livable square footage. If someone's going to ask what's the residential square footage of the building, I'm going to give a different number and say the amount you can actually use to live in because certain parts are unfinished. There's a reasonable potential for a difference in square footage allotments. So when I first heard that, I said, I don't actually know. I'd have to look at blueprints and figure out what they meant by that. But I accept Trump may have fluffed up the number by 3 times to make it seem like it's bigger. Totally fair. Unfortunately, they didn't have a trial. So it's meaningless. It's a meaningless argument to me. It's like, okay, well, unless you have an adversarial assessment of why that was, and Trump on the stand talking about it, Trump's response when he was deposed was, we it's a big document. A lot of people worked on it. We told him that it's subjective and may be wildly inaccurate.
I would love to get Kevin O'Leary, obviously, on the show if we haven't reached out to him yet. I could listen to him go for 2 hours and just let the world know. Explain all this over and over again.
Just go off.
The crazy thing about this is they're arguing that this is a crime. I'll give you an example. Ian, this debt badge thing, this was given to me by
I want it.
by Thomas Massey personally.
I watched
and so it could be worth $100, but because it was given to me by Massey personally, I'm gonna say it's $1,000. But I got to be honest, I could be wildly wrong on its value. Why don't you figure out what the value is and then tell me what you'll give me for it?
I don't know. It sounds like
Fraud.
you're committing fraud, Tim.
That's their argument.
Well, it's not
insane.
fraud at all. No, you said, I don't know how much this is worth. Was it because he signed a document and handed it over to a bank not knowing?
It's because they're arguing he altered the principal argument is he altered the square footage of the Trump penthouse. And I will say it again. Yes, that's a potentiality that the Trump organization lied about the square footage to make it seem like it's worth more money so the bank would give them more favorable terms. Totally fine. Summary judgment, which means there was no evidentiary hearing. It means nobody came in and testified what this was whether it was true. Nobody testified. They did not have a court trial. Like, the judge just said, bang, we're done. Trump committed fraud. Yeah. So the most important thing, however, is this. Let's say I have this and I say, this is gold.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
You tell me what it's worth.
That if it was gold, how much it would be worth, or how much it's actually worth?
How much you're going to give it? Look,
I'll give you
I say that's gold. I could be wrong. Let me know what you want to give me for it.
So is that fraud if it's obviously not gold and you tell them it's gold?
And this is what Deutsche Bank the banker basically said is we reviewed all the documents and reduced his estimated valuation way down, like by less than half. And then we offer up a loan based on that.
And there are other people in real estate that have done that, where they said my thing's worth is 3 times the size of what I'm doing it. The bank's like, actually, no.
Well,
so we're not going to give it.
This is why I don't. First of all, I don't trust these people, and I think that's why I think right away. I've prefaced this every time with it's possible he just lied. Totally accept that, but I seriously think there's a strong probability that it's something like the building we're in right now. Total square footage is 12,000 square feet. If you were going to ask me how much is the residential square feet, or how much is the living square footage, I couldn't say that. I would say 10. But if I'm filing for different things, so let's say I'm going to a bank to get like a mortgage, I would say there's 12,000 square feet available for living space. What I mean is the unfinished portions could be converted. If someone was trying to buy the property, I would give them the square footage of living space, which is like 8,000. There's a reasonable explanation for why there may be a different number, and I don't know. Maybe the Trump penthouse includes like an unfinished underfloor or something. Who knows? What I can tell you is these people are not trustworthy. So when they come out and they do this, first thing is, I know that they're lying about the fraud because Trump literally said these assessments are subjective and may vary wildly, and told them to do their own due diligence. The bank said we did, and we're fine, and we're going to lower the valuation and give you a different loan. Then they made money and we're happy. There's no crime. There's none. They argued that because in the process of negotiating, Trump lied. That's fraud. And it's just like, but he also told them he could be wrong. And they're like, yeah, well, it's still lying.
I mean, it's just like, another we got him. We got him. And they never do.
Like lying and fraud aren't necessarily the same thing. You can lie to someone without committing fraud.
Well, no, the issue, I mean, yes, in a circumstance where you say, oh, that's $1 million button. Yeah. You tell me what you think it's worth and I'll take what you want to buy it for.
And then if you said it's worth $1 million and I gave you $1 million for it, would that have been fraud? I don't even think that's fraud.
That's why I called out Jon Stewart. The argument made by the left is that securing a loan and selling a property are different things. The bank is buying debt from Donald Trump. The buyer was buying property from Jon Stewart. In both instances, an exchange of money was given for something of value. The debt was valuable. They would make money off it due to interest rates. And so they argued if Trump didn't inflate the value, well, Jon Stewart wasn't paying taxes on a $17 million property. That's a whole other argument, though, by the way. I mean, the issue there is that Jon Stewart is a tax fraudster, along with all the other real estate. I think what we're learning here is that New York real estate is a tax fraud scheme. And
that doesn't surprise me.
And the reason why Kevin O'Leary is freaking out is because he knows the market value of his buildings are different from what the real market value the city is assessing, and the city's cutting backroom deals with everybody.
I think you're right. And another thing that is being overlooked here is there's a lot of places where valuation and what the value is not dictated by the state or anything, and it's totally arbitrated by a third party. I mean, I have a guitar, right, that is a remake of it was a remake made in the 80s of a guitar made in the 60s, but it was made in this specific factory and there were only so many, and because of that, it's worth X amount of dollars, right? It's not nicer, quote unquote, than a brand new American-made Fender Stratocaster, but because of where it was made, when it was made, how it was made, the people that literally worked at the factory when it was made is part of why. And you can't, like, the going rate, the market value for that is dictated entirely by what people are willing to pay for.
Let's say this. Let's say you take your guitar and you go to a bank and say, I need a loan so that I can buy a new car.
Sure.
And they say, what's your collateral? It's like, well, I got this guitar. It's vintage. I think it's a 1967. You're going to have to check me on that one because it could be wrong. And they go, okay, they checked. It's actually a 68, so it's worth half what you thought, but we'll give you a loan based on this number. And you say, deal. And then New York goes, fraud.
Yep, exactly. That's 100% what happens. And again, we've talked about this before. Like, there are agencies that have to be licensed with the federal government to do the appraisals. The reason they're licensed is so that way they have the authorization and it protects them in court. And the government says, oh, you know how to do it, so we trust you to do it right. And you've passed all our tests and you're quote unquote licensed, and for the government to step in and say, we know you were licensed, we know that we have given you this authority, but because we don't like Donald Trump's face, we're going to go ahead and stick our nose in. And that's exactly what has happened in this case.
I want Donald Trump, when he's in office, to destroy the New York real estate market. $20 million. I mean, look, I don't care about Trump anymore. I don't care about Kevin O'Leary. I don't care about Jon Stewart. When I found out that the majority of properties in New York, market value, everyone can plainly see, and the government walks in and goes, what is this, $20 million penthouse? I'll write you down for $1 million. How does that sound? And then you'll only pay taxes on $600. And they go, thanks, buddy. So you got people who own $20 million penthouses.
Gross.
And they're paying taxes on only $600K. Pay your fair share already, real estate in New York. What's going on, huh? Yeah. All these fat cat liberals in these big buildings they own are paying dirt taxes. I think even Trump knew this, of course. And Trump was like, this is what everybody does. Jon Stewart knew this. It's what everybody does. Jon Stewart said he didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, Jon Stewart? You bought a property for $5.8 million. The government then came and said, I think it's worth 1.8. You went, sounds good to me, even though you knew you bought it for more. Did you write down a loss on your property of $4 million when the city undervalued it? You then sold it for 17.5, but you only paid taxes on an evaluation of 1.8. Pay your fair share, you tax frauder. Yes, fraudster or tax evader. All of these people in New York do this. The reason why Kevin O'Leary is freaking out, in my opinion, is because he knows he's got tons of real estate valued at 20, 30, 40 million dollars, or however much real estate he's got, and he's paying tax on them as though they're worth only $1 million. Yeah. They're all doing it. It is one big scam in New York City.
The thing is, like, there is nothing that Donald Trump has done, be it in his business life, in his private life, or as president, that every single other president has done. Bill Clinton was stooping girls outside of his marriage. Like, there's no question about that. Like, there has been all kinds of violations of the whole Constitution during Barack Obama and George Bush's tenure as president. Like, every single thing that they're attacking Donald Trump for, presidents have done previously and other people have done in the private sector. But it is specifically because he is Donald Trump and he was not supposed to win the presidency. He was disfavored, and he had the audacity to beat what people thought was the incumbent Hillary Clinton. It was her time, even though she wasn't the president. It was her turn.
$65 million property in New York listed on Zillow. Tax assessment 1.5 million.
What the hell?
Come on.
What?
Come on.
Dude, I think a lot of this too is because of all of like these foreign owners of all these buildings that just own property in New York and they don't do anything in the building. I have friends that live in New York. And like, I'm only like 5 people in the building, and it's like 200 rooms at least. It's crazy. So I'm all for this.
So
This is what they said the property was worth 1.6 million for the sake of taxing it, or he had to pay 1.6 million.
No. The assessment means the value of the property based on the government assessment.
I think you're right, man. This is part and parcel to is this New York City?
New York, and the argument I suppose is, but this is how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I looked at comparable
good.
properties in other big cities. They don't do it.
Yeah.
In California, they don't do it this way. California, if the property sells for 100 million, California says $100 million property. New York is cutting deals for the real estate market for whatever reason. And Jon Stewart played the game. Jon Stewart had a $6 million penthouse he bought, and he paid taxes as if it were worth only $748,000. He knew he was not paying his taxes.
I declare amnesty. Let them all go. Let's reset. I don't want to one by one knock down every realtor in New York City, just pick apart our own process. Obviously, it's corrupt. I'd still like to ride it to the top. Were you going to say something?
I think that it's a bad idea to just say we should reset. I think what is probably the better idea is to prosecute a couple people, the largest offenders, and then reassess the whole city. Right, like you can have the assessors go through and reassess all of the properties, all the tax properties, and straighten it out so that way it reflects reality, and that honestly would likely produce enough revenue for the city to hire more police officers and do something about the crime.
Yeah. That's why I said that tax on all those people that own these businesses is great. Let them contribute to the United States. Let them contribute to our taxes that I have to pay for, that you have to pay for.
I just yell at a stick for a living, right? And I'm a dummy. But I know that New York City has New York City taxes. And because New York City does not print the money, they're actually taking in the dollars and paying for things with those dollars. Like the way the U.S. federal government, the way taxes apply to a nation are different than the way the taxes apply to a state that doesn't print the money. So they actually have to spend that money. They can't just print the money to do stuff. They actually have to, if they can't get the federal government to just give it to them, which they usually do, but they can take that tax money and they can do things with it, which is the way that it used to be nationwide. But these are problems that New York State and New York City are fully empowered to solve. The problem is that they don't have the desire because the people that are in positions of power in the state and local government are stupid. I mean, it's clear. It's clear that it is not a secret how to stop crime. Now, it's not exactly pretty, because there's a lot of crime out there,
like
and you have
the
to
Giuliani style.
Yes, exactly.
Was it like cops beating people on the street? Kind of thing?
No. It wasn't like there was not a Rodney King incident every day, but they were stopping and frisking people. So they were like, if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time and looked like the wrong person, they were like, yo, I want to stop and frisk you, blah, blah, blah. And that's how they started to push back on gun crime and violent crime.
And then
stuff.
Disproportionately young black kids were getting stopped, and they were like, this is systemic racism, and that's where it all began. Is this?
Well, that's not where it all began, but that was one of the things that would be considered systemic racism. But again, like the police officers that we had 2 police officers here today, and they were saying, look, there is a difference between a racial crime or a crime that is because it looks like there is a person that is suspicious. And a police officer can make that judgment, but society has decided that we no longer trust police officers to make that judgment. We're just going to say if they make that judgment, it automatically is because they're racist, which is part of the whole idea that's in like white fragility. And that's the whole idea on CRT with race and stuff, is that it's not about whether racism did happen. Racism is pervasive in our system. So how did racism manifest? And if there's always racism, then there's always going to be an argument against why this person in particular is being targeted, if there's any kind of racial component at all. So.
And the problem is they'll see it in any situation, right? It's like there's video after video of, what was the one recently where there was someone attacking a cop with a shovel or something, running out of their house, and he got shot, and
Yes.
there was
He was an
people still,
autistic guy. He was
mad
like
about it.
15, but he was huge too.
Which sucks, but you can't commit a cop with a shovel. And if
Absolutely.
that cop, shoots you out, it's kind of like, how is that about your race?
Yeah, we were talking today to the police officers, and one of the things that people don't think about when it comes to police officers having guns, a police officer doesn't have the option of losing consciousness, because that means that they are likely to die, and there's a crazy person on the loose with their gun.
You can't just enter combat.
Yeah.
You have to, it's over with or it's not.
Yeah, so.
Let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support the show, because this show is made possible thanks in part to viewers like you. All right, let's see what you got to say. Smash the like button again. Alpha Turkey says, Howie, Clint. You missed the D. Oh, no.
Howie.
Clint says, howdy, people. Phil, go to the gym.
Cheers, Clint.
Clint says, Phil, go again.
Yes, Clint, I agree.
Alpha Turkey says, Phil, them triceps need work.
Boy, I don't even start.
Did you ask for inspo or something?
I don't know what happened, but mouthy people.
Oh, triceps feel good.
Did you ask them to tell you this?
No, they're just getting loud. Just getting loud.
All right, Martin Vorbrot says, Phil, I sent multiple guns for service, and each time they sent them back to me. Signature required. This includes NFA item.
I am going the safe route and getting 4473s every time.
What is that?
That's the NICS check, so that way you can be sure that you don't have a felony. And if you take possession of a gun, you're supposed to
Make sure that they didn't have a felony before you take it.
Well, the context is we were talking about it this morning, and so if you send a gun out to be to have gunsmith work, whatever it is, when they send it back to you, you're supposed to take a 4473 before you take it back, because you could have committed a felony, making you ineligible to possess a gun.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, Dave the Lego guy posted video of him going for a walk because of you and Phil's inspiration to get healthier by November. You'll love to see it. Go team.
Yeah.
Dave the Lego guy. Oh, it's on now. You got to go all the way. We got to see more clips. We got to see progress. We got to do this.
Please, Dave. I retweeted him.
Me too.
Yeah, he's
also,
great.
oh, baby.
Shout out to Raymond G. Stanley Jr. for your never-ending observational skills. Thanks for keeping it loud, brother.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. The Bahamian Rainman says, I'd rather ish on my hands and clap. It took me 15 minutes to get myself under control after you dropped that little gem in your last podcast. I can't say that to
that was
myself
me.
without giggling hysterically.
I forgot. Yeah.
I was like, oh
Is
no,
that
where's this
a
going?
quote of yours?
Someone's TikTok. I was like, I'd rather shit on my hands and clap than watch this.
Because it takes a while to get that stink out,
Right.
Yes.
If you smear it in, it takes even longer.
Right.
Ian knows.
Yeah. I've been there.
I love you, Ian.
Yeah. I love you too, Phil.
All right. Frump says, I listened to old episodes of IRL as background noise for A+ sleep. I noticed Tim accurately predicted the too incompetent to face charges thing in episode 50 around 20 minutes in. Got any other interesting predictions? Oh, I wonder about the specifics behind that.
The too incompetent for Biden to
face charges.
Yeah.
I don't know. Predict a lot of things. I give my opinions on what I think things might be, and they're wrong often. And they're right often. Their FBI is starting to go after people for social media posts.
Yeah,
I half predicted that. I said the next thing we're going to start seeing is the feds or Capitol Police going to people's houses who are posting things about January 6th. They are now doing this.
Yep.
How
Crazy.
many lists do you think between all of us we're all on?
17.
Well, the joke I had a long time ago was I was at this party with a bunch of hackers and political personalities. And I was like, you guys realize that in the NSA right now, there's some intern and an alarm goes off and he goes, boss! And he's like, what? And he goes, look, all the red dots are coming together.
Yeah.
It's forming one giant red dot.
All the dots are in the same place.
Like they look at mind maps of pulsing your face with a pulsing circle around it that gets bigger the closer you get to other maps of other pulsing faces of people, and then they can spin it around and zoom out and see how you're connected to other realms of pulsing faces.
That's called Palantir.
So here's how it works.
I invested in that company.
My NSA agent and Ian's, they work together all the time because every night they sit down, they're like, oh, you tracking Ian stuff? Like, yeah, you tracking Tim? Yeah. And then when you show up, the Blaire NSA agent walks in, they're like, oh, Blaire's on tonight. Like, yeah, so I'll be hanging out with you guys tonight.
They're all playing cards.
They're playing cards, yeah.
I talk to mine sometimes.
Nice. I got to get inside.
Let's go. All right, where are we at? Rathball says polls indicate Republican former Governor Larry Hogan is leading by double digits for the Maryland Senate race. What do you think of him? Is he good or just another rhino? Hadn't considered that MD could flip. Rhino, I don't know a lot about Maryland, to be completely honest. I've always been much more concerned with West Virginia because my legal residence is West Virginia. We do the show out of Maryland, and then I live in West Virginia because we're in the tri-state. It's 30 seconds apart. But the whole new move we're doing, the big studio shift in the next 4 days, I think, is 100% West Virginia. So we've had half of the operation already in West Virginia for some time. And then the full operation will be West Virginia soon.
Is this the last time I'll be in the studio, probably? Or
Not necessarily. We're going to have another show here. I'm not going to say too much just yet because we're still working out the details, but there's Pop Culture Crisis will still be here. There's going to be another show that's going to be here. So it is unlikely for you to return in the immediate, but there may be a time when you show back up for some reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential at this place for expansion now.
We shall
rapid potential all of a sudden.
You got to figure out what we're doing with this place. Like, what do you do with a building with a skate park outside and a ramp in the basement and 2 studios? And
I like movie studio. I love podcasting because we have studios already. It's already built, like different podcast studios.
Like, yeah, one of the ideas was renting out podcast production space and stuff like that to people who are doing, because often it's mostly infomercial stuff. Like, someone will say, hey, we need to do a infomercial style thing. We need a podcast studio, and then they pay a one-time fee or something. Because otherwise it's just sitting around. It will be our backup studio because if there's an emergency or whatever, we can always have one or the other. But taking this whole thing apart, I was like, no, there's no way.
No.
Yeah,
all the cameras, all the wiring, that's just, it's not worth it.
Just keep using it.
Well, because we need the plan B in the event that there's a catastrophe.
Seems a bit wrong, too, to just dismantle everything. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not. We're going to basically leave it exactly as it is. I think the instruments are coming with us, but all the art and everything's probably going to stay exactly the same. And we'll probably still find ourselves here, just maybe once a month or every other month.
When it's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really depends.
We can play music here. It's got a lot of space to get the whole band together and play music.
We have a 40-foot tall building to play music in now.
It's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
Not in the last 4 months.
What?
Really? We shot something over there 4 months ago. I haven't been back since.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so come on, playing music in that building, playing up on the 3rd floor.
With the acoustics? Is it maddening? I love it.
Maddening.
All right, cool. Do we have a drum kit over there?
Not yet, but we will. I'm gonna. Someone mentioned. Where's the super chat? I want to read it. I don't know. I'll see if I get to it. Let's read some more super chats. All right. Adrienne Curry says Blaire White is 50% more broad than I am. It is known.
I don't think that's true, but shout out to Adrian.
Broad.
Jason Hutchinson says Kathy Hochul afuera. Couldn't have happened to a better person. There you go. TN says Trump is crushing Biden on donors under $200. Biden is crushing Trump on large donors. Photos with Clinton, Obama, and Biden were $100,000 a piece. I know. And I was thinking about getting 2 or 3 of them. Really wanted to be in that photo with Clinton and Biden.
$100,000 to take a photo.
Can I just photobomb for $40,000?
That's the divide right there.
Face in the back.
Yeah.
That's the divide right there, right? I don't think Trump would ever do that.
The thing is, there's a lot of people that are, I don't think Trump would ever charge. I mean, he would do fundraisers, but I can't imagine him charging like normal people for pictures. But the Democrats have that really made it starkly clear that the Democrats are the party of the wealthy now. There is no question that all the money all the significant money is going to Democrats. They are the party of the elite and the wealthy now, and the Republicans are the party of the average person.
It seems like they have control of the Federal Reserve, and they're just pumping it into their. I don't know.
Just Leave Me Alone says, Tim, you started a shitstorm on social media. Women against me in New York City. I stayed out of it because, with all due respect, you don't know who these women voted for. I don't care who they voted for. I don't understand this because I have friends who are women who are in New York, and there are people who have been on the show who are women in New York, and they're like, hey, you shouldn't say that. And I'm just like, dude, I got to say this to all the conservatives. You don't get to call people retarded. You don't get to insult people's appearance or call them fat pigs and laugh whenever you want to make a joke about somebody and then get upset when people are joking about your circumstances. It's just like roll with the punches. Have a nice day. And a pun was intended. Let's go. We'll grab some more super chats.
That's a good point.
Well, that's what, the funny thing is, like, the people are like, Tim, how dare you say you find it funny? And I'm like, I have insulted a lot of people in my day.
Yeah.
And on this show, quite a bit. And y'all laughed.
Yeah.
Y'all laughed along with me. There was a funny post where Babylon B said, Ron DeSantis kicked out of Republican Party for succeeding too much. And I thought it was really good. I laughed. And I'm like, in Florida, the dude is getting a lot done and the Republicans suck. And then there was some guy, he follows me, he's like, Turning Point USA said that they're trying to break, like, he criticized them for it. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I'm very critical of Ron DeSantis, but that was a funny joke. Ron DeSantis is very successful in Florida.
Yeah.
That's what we liked about him.
If he's like, they are not prepared for my intelligence, like if he's reporting and he's like, because he was so good and just weirdly, I don't know if it's autistic is the right word, but weirdly socially awkward during this presidential run, unfortunately, because he was like really put together before that. He seemed like he had good morals and aims and ethics. And I wonder if it's like society's just not ready for that kind of style of leadership yet. We're too emotional.
Just in terms of policy, it's just like A1. You know, he's amazing in terms of policy. But yeah, his personality just, I don't know.
Doctor says, Jess Margera, drummer of CKY, is talking shit about you on Twitter today. He used the picture where they make you super fat on Fox News. It is a funny picture. It's a good Photoshop.
That one photo, I think I know. Oh, it's a Photoshop as well. Yeah. Who's that guy? Who's
yes,
Margera?
They made a fake picture of me morbidly obese. But this is what they have to do.
Dude, I love seeing those pictures because I see if you'd gone the fat path and not worked out, I'm so glad you're healthy, man. It looks great.
It was realistically photoshopped.
But so
I'll ask our bass players for some inside jokes about Jess Margera.
No, I love CKY. Dude, I learned how to play 96 Quite Bitter Beings when I was like 15. Plastic Plan is one of my favorite songs. Yeah. We were just jamming out to CKY like a week ago on the mini ramp. First thing I did was I hit him up and I said, brother, can we book you for a show? Yes, dude, CKY is like one of the like preeminent skateboarding bands. Oh, nice. Bam Margera, CKY, CKY2K, all of their songs playing in the background. They got them on Tony Hawk video games. Dude, CKY is great.
Yep.
Is it Bam's brother? Jess Margera?
Bam Margera's brother.
Our bass player played for CKY for like 10 years.
Really?
Nice. Yeah, Matt Dice. Wow. Matt Dice. When he left All That Remains, we were just starting out and like hadn't really gotten off the ground yet. And he got a chance to be in CKY, and he's like, "Guys, this is my favorite band, and I'm gonna go play for him." And we were like, "We love you. We get it." Because we were all like, you know, if I got the chance to play in my favorite band or whatever, especially at that age, we were like, "Go." We were like, "We love you. Go." We understand. It sucked, you know, because we had some issues with bass players for a little while until we got Genie. But yeah, he went and he played for a lot of years. And I don't think Mr. Margera is in any position to be talking smack about people there, homeboy.
I got no. He can make fun of me all he wants. I don't care. Would you like to come and play a show, Jess Margera? Yes. Everyone here is a big fan of CKY. And you can actually talk smack about whoever you want while you're playing the show. We like the music. I don't know.
Shout out to Bam, though.
Yeah, Bam's great.
He seems better. He came back from.
It's good to see him actually skating too.
Well, he tore his MCL.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep. When did he tear?
He was doing I think he was doing a kickflip blunt down the side of a ramp, one of his signature moves, and he fell, and then his leg went like that. Yeah, tore his MCL.
Can you get injections like stem cells for that kind of thing too?
If it's a serious tear, he's gonna need surgery.
Yeah,
he's gonna need surgery, but he probably should get the stem cell stuff. We gotta reach out to him. We know a bunch of people, like we have a bunch of mutual connections, and see if he can get the Cellular Performance Institute guys to set him straight. Couple months, he'll be back in the game.
Yes. Yep.
Yo, it was one of the coolest things ever when I saw the video of him skating again.
Yeah.
Because I like in the Toy Machine video, you know, like CKY before jackets and all that, all the skateboarders know Bam.
Yeah.
And one of the best parts in which Toy Machine? It's been 20 something years. I forgot which Toy Machine. Toy Machine's a skateboard company, and so seeing him skate again is like nostalgia. But it's also I'm just so happy for him health wise.
Yeah.
There was a time where he was looking like it was gonna be like he was gonna off
well,
himself.
bro, I mean his best friend died.
Yeah, I know.
Brutal, merciless. Seeing him come back and like, dude, the fans were so excited. Yeah. We just want to see him skate. You know, we want to see him be good.
A testament to getting healthier too, because I was really unhealthy in 2012. I see videos and I was like, ate so much sodium and crap, puffy face, never worked out. I looked sick. I looked older than I look now. That's like 14 years ago. Literally genetically.
Pictures of me in 2015 were pretty rough.
Fixing that inflammation is key.
I really...
Okay, you could even think you're fat, but it's actually just inflammation. You know, it's bad.
I really just got to shout out the dude who abides again for the F in communism stands for food.
So funny.
That's a good one.
That's a good one right there. Did you come up with that? Because that's a great one.
I mean, I've heard every communist book, like a lot of communist jokes. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's great. Chosky says Washington had an employee have their car stolen. It was on camera. People recognized who stole it. Days later, it was found with the guy's wallet and more stolen property. What was done? Nothing.
Of course.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're on your own.
It's bleak.
Let's see. Paracelsus says sci-fi has to be plausible. Reality does not. All right.
That's funny.
Igor V says the danger with people who have a chip implant is the government's having access to the eyes and ears of every implanted person and not being able to hide from the stream from every implanted eyes and ears.
Yup. Yes, they all become spies.
I feel like they can already listen to you, though. You know, there's just too much stuff that pops up on my phone just for me thinking about it.
There are technologies like penetrating radar, I think, where they can listen to you from space through walls, things like that.
So the phenomenon that you're experiencing, or you're pointing at and talking about, I don't think that it's actually because they're listening and grabbing things that you say for keywords for advertisements. I think the algorithms are just so good that like you see something and you recognize it because you talked about it, but you don't think about the 10, 15, 20 things that went by that you didn't notice.
So what happened to me was me and my brother went to Walmart and they had a sale on these TVs that they put right in the middle of the aisle. When they really want to sell something, they put it in the middle of the walkway. Like, you know, like not when you're in one of the actual aisles.
Or like an end cap?
And it's a Bluetooth
Not an end
thing.
cap. Like the actual paths in Walmart, they will put stuff right in the middle of it to walk around. They had TVs. I get home. This was back when I lived in Bayonne in New Jersey. And I go on Facebook and I get an ad showing that picture from Walmart. It was a picture of my Walmart and those TVs.
Stuff.
And I was like, wow. Well, it knew where I was.
Yeah.
There's that famous story where the guy got, mail came to his house. Some of it was to his teenage daughter, and it was maternity stuff. And he got really pissed off, and he called the company and says, why are you sending maternity advertisements to my teenage daughter? And they said, sir, these are algorithmically mailed out. When our system detects someone is pregnant based on their buying patterns, we send them these products. And he goes, what? Daughter was pregnant.
I'm thinking about this
She
rewrite.
was looking up things like feeling sick. She was looking. She didn't know she was pregnant either. Is the crazy thing. She was looking up things that pregnant women look up, but she didn't know it was pregnancy. But when you connect the dots, this computer solves the Sudoku puzzle.
Yeah, the read-write thing is scary because if they can write information into your brain directly, obviously, but the read-only is also scary because the machine's going to be writing information into your brain just with its feedback. So like, you know, if I say hello to you, I'm writing information into your brain that's being written. So like it'll be able to tell how I feel, and then it'll show me colors and sounds in response to my feelings, and it's basically writing
That's what I was saying. The right portion right now is a screen through your eyes and ears, and the read portion will be from your brain. So it will know your thoughts, and then you will look up, and a TV will pop on, and it'll go, "Hey, Ian," and you'll be like in that scene in Minority Report where he walks into the mall, and then it's like, "Hello, Mr. Guanzhou," or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
Because he had the fake eye. But you're going to walk in, and it's going to know you're there, and it's going to tell the machine. The machine knows everything you're thinking, and the AI will appear and be like, "I know your thoughts, Ian. Don't do it.
it'll be grok.
Put it down."
The machine will be grok. Be like, I'm just a figment of your imagination, Ian. I'm just an AI. Remember that.
And this is
It
going
will be one. Like Grok, Hume.
Grok will be a big barbarian
No, they're all going to merge.
in your alternate reality.
They will all be one thing. They will all merge into
That's
one
like
thing.
Pandora. Like we're building Pandora's box, all for
Yep.
it to emerge whence.
That's what it seems like.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think that the AI may actually be what do they call them? Like figments or like angels and demons. They might end up being like your familiar in the alternate reality in your augmented realms. And they'll communicate with you. And
What is this? Gina says, Tim, check out Tickle v. Giggle lawsuit in Australia. Will have worldwide ramifications. Also, anyone interested in sci-fi, just released my first book on Earth and Sky by Lee Nash. I reached out. We reached out to the woman. I think her name is Sal. Let me make sure I get the name right before I screw it up. But the problem is she's in Australia, so she can't come. It is... What's her name? Am I getting her name wrong? Okay, I definitely got her name wrong. Oh, no, I was right. Yeah, Sal Grover. Sal Grover at SALL Tweets is the founder of Giggle. And we wanted her to come out to talk about this because she made a social media space just for women. And trans women wanted to come on it. And she said it's for females only. And then they sued. I don't know exactly what's going on right now with this lawsuit, but we asked her to come out and talk about what was going on, and I guess it was too difficult to fly from Australia. So,
Is your take on like trans women and like you'd think that there should be spaces that are
Yeah, I don't know why it's so hard for everyone to just stay in their own lane and why that hurts people's feelings. I feel like not everything is for everyone, and it's just that simple. You don't have to, like you said earlier, you don't have to divorce certain realities from your perceived reality. So yeah, I mean, that's what my whole channel pretty much is based upon.
Do you just use whatever bathroom when you go into the bathrooms? Do you just pick whatever, or do you go into one particularly?
I mean, I very much avoid public bathrooms in general because they're disgusting. But I mean,
so smart? It's so true.
I mean, I can't use men's bathrooms. That's always going to be a problem. So,
And also, like, I mean, your situation because you're a small.
it's different when
person,
you
like, you're not,
transition.
like-
But the fact is, now you have people that don't transition. And it's conflated as the same thing now, which is like the biggest problem, and it's causing problems.
yeah, I don't think you and I have ever, we ever never even actually talked about stuff like this on the show. I think you pointed out before, you were like, we never talk about the trans stuff. And I was like, oh, whatever. But we have talked about it. I was talking about with Cassandra. It's like, if a trans man who looks like Buck Angel goes into a women's room, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If a trans woman who looks like Blaire goes into a men's room, it's not going to be the same kind of problem, but people are going to be like, oh, there's a woman in here. And then what you have now is you
It's
have
a different problem.
You might be in
Right.
danger if you do that, though.
Oh, of course.
You know?
I mean, it's just about causing the least amount of problems. And there seems to be this new found, not even with just trans, like idea in the world with people that like, it's just your world, and any problems that happen around you because of your actions, there's no responsibility,
so
no
true,
anything.
so smart.
And that's the destruction of everything too, right now.
Seamus has a new cartoon out on Freedom Tunes, and the issue that is actually at play is there are large men, like the photo of the guy shaving his beard.
The Planet Fitness stuff. Too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
It's
mean,
like,
that's scary.
yeah, there's like a guy shaving his beard saying that he's allowed to be in there, or the Wee Spa guy who was not even trans and just exposing himself, and then they're like, well, we can't do anything because he might be trans.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's just a guy who's getting naked in front of little girls. That's come on.
Exactly. And I've always like been confused by how if you actually transition, you actually are trying to become a woman, or, there are some of us that don't think you can actually become a woman, but you live.
But live your life that way. You know?
Exactly. It's like you would think you would get an increased empathy for women. Like my empathy for women's only increased the more and more I'm perceived that way in the world, and getting negative attention from men, or, just scary stuff happening. A lot of them don't have that empathy. It doesn't increase for them, which is how I know it's like they're not really trans then.
Well, then, we're going to wind things up. So if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support the show. Because this show is made possible thanks in part to viewers like you. And High Res the rapper keeps asking me if I will do that rap song with him.
The answer is yes.
And I was like,
Hell
we'll
yes.
get to it. It's like, oh, man, we got so much stuff
love that
going
guy.
on. But that would be fun to
Res.
do a rap song.
You'd be sick.
But I mean, we're working on songs right now. Phil has helped us write it, working on a song with Phil right now. And so it's just,
It's got a great chorus, too. Already.
Yeah.
Great chorus.
yeah, it's like good rock.
Yeah.
So
I want to
smash
do
that
a
like
real
button.
high note on that song, like come in hard Cornell.
We can get that. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. Cornell, so good.
my God,
You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Blaire, do you want to shout anything out?
Just my channel, I guess. You guys can search me up on YouTube. You'll find me.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can follow us on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, Amazon Music, the internet. And don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
And at Ian Cross on to follow me anywhere and everywhere on the internet. Question for you, Blaire. Do you play Helldivers?
No.
Well, I know Phil does. Tim, have you, Serge, you played it? I don't think you
I'm
guys have
playing
played
Baldur's
it
Gate.
yet. I noticed. What's your favorite weapon, support weapon?
I haven't had any time to play
Tell
because
me.
I've been so busy with All That Remains stuff and with I
Oh,
haven't
so
had-
what level are you now?
I'm like level 3
Gotcha.
or 4. Like I've played very, very little.
All right,
And
I'll ask you in a couple months.
I
I'll
want to play
reconnect.
more than I have. So
Good.
Should
we
I
should.
play?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's epic. If you like third-person shooters, you fight bugs, kind of like Starship Troopers, and you fight automatons like Terminator. It's pretty awesome. 4-player, squad-based combat, friendly fires on,
Fun.
so it's
Oh, that sounds great.
hilarious when you misfire,
Yeah, I think I have just about exhausted all of Baldur's Gate.
Dude, how many hours? Did you catch a number?
I don't know, 200.
Wow. I was thinking about playing it the other night, and it's like I almost feel like impotent compared to. I'm like, how can I even begin to talk to Tim about it? Because you know the game so thoroughly in and out now.
Yeah,
It is such a good game.
it's like in the car I'm playing it. And then there's usually like after I'm eating and I'm sitting down and I have Fox News on for like an hour, I'll play it. But that was typically what I was doing. And so it's been since October. And then there's a few days on the weekends I play for a few hours. But it's usually when I can't do anything else. Like if I couldn't skate or work out Thursday because it was a recovery day. And so I played a little bit. Usually it's like there's nothing for me to be doing. I have to rest and relax. But I've exhausted that game. There's like basically nothing left in that game.
Divinity 2, if you like that style, Divinity 2 is where it's at. It might be even better than Baldur's Gate.
Come fight for managed democracy in Helldivers.
Oh, for democracy.
Managed democracy.
All right. Serge.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about that game. I'm not really the gamer guy, but it looks cool. From all the lore stuff I see, it looks cool. Yeah, guys, keep your heads up. We're almost there. We'll be in November soon. Then it'll really matter. Yeah. Cheers.
We will see you all. We got clips coming up through the weekend, and then we will be back Monday. Thanks for hanging out.